evening and welcome to the June 6, 2024 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022. Our next meeting and those following also will be held in person here at Town Hall and will continue to allow for remote participation. So please keep checking the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's meeting only and not participate, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website for viewing access. With that, I'd like you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you with us tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases across the hall and continue down through the main entrance. Do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall from this room. We'll begin this meeting with public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it's their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find you're having difficulties accessing the hearing, visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, for those of you in the boardroom, please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another as it interferes with the recording of our proceedings. Tonight, board member Helen Burgess is participating via Zoom. As a reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on particular applications have a time limit of 3 minutes. Also, before handing in any submission to the board tonight, please make sure the documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. The application name should also be written on all of your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of an individual application hearing, all applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a date set. Those written comments can be addressed to the members of the board and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall to the Town Secretary, Candace Cow. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of our May 16th meeting. Thank you. And that was moved by
me.
All right, Mr. Macedonio, Mr. Leonard, you second.
Yes.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye. Okay. Minutes are approved. John, would you like to take us through the agenda?
Yes, let's start with the adjournments. Turning to number 6 on the agenda, JP Squared LLC, 6 Wilson Avenue, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-293-2-8. This application will be re-advertised for our June 20th meeting. Turn to
No.
case number 7. Margaret Zach and Robert Zach, 24 Old Fort Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-211-4-54. This application will be re-advertised for our July 18th meeting. Number 8 on the agenda, Dean Isidro, 1 Lily Pond Drive, Sag Harbor, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-26-1-45 will be re-advertised to our July 18th meeting. Okay.
We don't vote in the meeting,
No.
Number
We
9
don't
on the
have
agenda,
jurisdiction.
Stacy Russell, 10 Birchwood Lane, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-291-3-19. This application will be adjourned to our August 15th meeting.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Aye. Chair votes aye.
Number 10 on the agenda, 625 Butter Lane Homestead LLC, Agricultural Reserve, Bridgehampton. Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-51-1-17.7. This application will be adjourned to our August 1st meeting.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, number 12 on our agenda, J.G. Farrell 3 Real Estate LLC, 8 Middle Pond Lane, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-272-2-10 will be adjourned to the June 20th meeting.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, the following decisions will be adjourned to the June 20th meeting. Eva Wisnowski, Airpac 79 Holdings LLC, Dennis and Arlene O'Rourke, Sarah Coyne and Alexander Nedeljkovic.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye.
I move to reopen the application of Pine Neck Realty LLC for written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And I move to close the application of Pine Neck Realty LLC for a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, I move to reopen the application of Megan Nikonovitz to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And I move to close the application of Megan Nikonovitz for a decision later tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
Okay. Moving to number 1 on our agenda, Ariat LLC, 292 West Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-253-1-25. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-105K. Schedules for minimum and maximum floor area to allow 3 commercial buildings in the Highway Business Zoning District to have a total gross floor area of 29,096 square feet, where the maximum gross area per building or building complex shall not exceed 15,000 square feet per lot, and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction. Request pass that to Bob, please.
Sorry.
That's okay.
For the applicant, David Gilmartin Jr., Greenberg Road, 2317 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. This project requires both relief from this board and site plan approval from the planning board. We did the pre-application process through the planning board. They determined it was a type 1 action, so we have to go through the secret process. They have coordinated.
We've coordinated.
You coordinated?
Mhm.
And I think we're on next week for lead agency decision with the planning board. So I don't think it's useful this board's time to talk about a project that most likely is going to see some changes as it comes along. But I just leave you with the idea. It sounds like a lot of relief, but the lot could be subdivided into 3 different lots, and we could have 45,000 square feet on the property, and you approved an identical application immediately next door.
It backs up the railroad, right?
Correct. So I would ask for a
When do
lengthy
you want to
adjournment.
adjourn this?
6 months. 3, 4.
3 for now.
Okay.
All right, what's the date?
September 6th. September, I think.
Let Candace give us the date.
You want to-
It's going to be 6 months.
October. I would-
You want
Wait, so it's on the planning board's agenda for when?
next week.
Okay. So the planning board wants to be lead agency? I mean, this board sets the lead agency. So the planning board is,
The planning board will.
okay,
ask
so
for lead
so we should put it on for at least just for our next meeting, just to establish lead
The lead
agency.
Okay.
And then the hearing for, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to come at the next meeting, but our next meeting, we should do the lead agency.
So
And
we should
then-
only adjourn it till the next meeting then.
Correct.
Well, what I'm saying is we could just do a lead agency resolution on
Okay.
7/18, and then we could put it on for testimony at another date.
Later date.
Okay,
know what I'm saying?
yes.
Is it a resolution 718?
Yes, the lead agency resolution 718.
Could I just get one clarification? Is the planning board desirous of the ZBA to take the lead agency? Is that the understanding?
Well, planning board wants it.
Okay, I was gonna say, all right, thank you. Good.
In my experience, the planning board always
Of
takes
course,
lead agency.
that's what I was surprised at, okay.
Okay, so for testimony, then what dates are we looking at?
We pick them on 7/18 or we pick them now?
No, you're gonna pick it now.
Okay.
They, what do you accept? You want September or October?
Give me September, and if we need to, we'll put
Second
it.
meeting in September?
Perfect.
September 19th.
Okay, Bob, this is
So
yours.
How do we, so what do we do
So
then?
you're gonna move to adjourn to,
7/18 just for,
9:19, and then we have a resolution.
okay.
So the other way around, you do the resolution, so you're gonna
I'm gonna
set the
move to,
resolution date for 7/18.
18, okay,
And a
sorry.
public hearing to continue on 9/19.
okay, so I'm gonna move to put it on for the calendar for July 18th for resolution purposes and then for hearing purposes to September 18th, 19th.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay,
Thank
see you
you.
then.
Thank you. Sorry.
Hope you have an early night.
It looks like it.
Well, we were expecting at least an hour from you, Dave.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, John?
Yes, number 2 on the agenda, Patrick Gordon and Zach Robbins, 494 North Main Street, North C, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-132-2-5.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-6 General Regulations that references Section 330-11 Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations to legalize a third story of 694 square feet constructed without the benefit of a building permit in a house with 2,116 square feet on the first floor and 1,050 square feet on the second floor on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Can you pass that to John, please?
Heather, you just want to say your name and your address? and
Of
then
course. Yep. Heather Wright for the applicants Patrick Gordon and Zach Robbins. My office address is 48H Main Street in West Hampton Beach. I'm here today with Mr. Robbins, who can answer any questions that you might have if
Are
necessary.
you an attorney?
Yeah.
I didn't swear you in before, right? No. Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Please state your name and address.
Zach Robbins, 494 North Main Street, Southampton.
Can we just ask you to speak a little louder in case anybody?
Yeah,
doesn't
Mike,
hear
sure.
us?
Of course, sorry about
Now,
that.
there's
you.
2 mics, but yes, speak
Okay.
loudly.
Yep, will do.
Thanks.
Um,
Okay, so Heather, tell us about the application.
Sure. So the property is 494 North Main Street. The lot area is 25,799 square feet. It's a non-conforming parcel in the CR60 zoning district, and it's currently improved with a pre-existing 3-story single-family dwelling, swimming pool, and garage. The lot was created out of a 1981 ZBA decision that created the 2 non-conforming lots, this parcel and a parcel to the north, both approximately the same size of 25,799 square feet. As I mentioned, the existing dwelling is a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling, and my clients purchased the property in 2021. And they only recently learned that the 3rd story was finished at some point in time without a building permit. They learned this when they went to apply for a rental permit, and then they discovered the issue. So that's why we are here. We're not entirely sure when the space was converted to habitable space, but my client did a little searching, Google searching, and the electrical panel serial number, model number is one that dates to something that was installed like no later than the late 70s, early 80s. So like I said, when they purchased the property, they were advised that the 3rd floor was permitted habitable space. The listing photos, the assessor's office information all listed it as habitable space. And there was also an intervening CO issued on this property. So in 2001, there was a renovation, and it looks like it was a garage and porch and renovation to the roof of the home. But the issue never came up. So We're here today to address it and hopefully resolve it. So we are looking for a variance from Town Code Section 33011 and 336 to permit the existing third story. So when we look at the 5-part test, clearly there'll be no undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. The space has been finished this way for a very long time. It's a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling. There's going to be no alteration to the exterior appearance of the residence. And we're not asking for any dimensional relief in terms of setback, pyramid relief, or height. And we did speak to, I did receive a call from Mr. Thomas White, who is across the street at 491 North Main, who wanted me to convey to the board that he had no objection to the application. And I know the board is aware that, you know, this comes up from time to time, this request with older homes, right? So I've submitted to the board with my application a number of decisions by this board for similar circumstances, right? So I have a couple more that hopefully I can just add into the record, if that's okay.
It's just one copy?
Yeah, I just wanted you to have it for the file. They were attached to my submission as well, but I just, in case.
Oh, okay.
you did it
So
here.
they already have these with the application?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 1050 Haddock Pond, 13 Bridle Path, 69 Wild Goose Lane, 121 Cold Spring Point Road, all have received similar relief from this board. And the applicant is obviously aware that they'll have to comply with New York State Building Code with respect to the installation of sprinklers. In terms of a feasible alternative, there really is no feasible alternative here. You know, obviously the code does not allow the construction of a residence that exceeds 2 stories in height. Clearly there's a significant value added to the property with this space. I have 2 letters from 2 different real estate agents who value the space at anywhere from $500,000 to $700,000. And you know, I don't have an estimate from a contractor about the cost of removal, but you know, clearly, if you look at standard remodeling figures of $100 to $200 a square foot, you're looking at like $70,000 to $140,000 just to decommission the space. So just these I have copies for everybody.
Okay. Original to John.
And then
Everybody can take one, just pass the original to John.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Same thing with this one. So the original goes to John and everybody's got it.
in terms of substantiality, this is a non-conforming, pre-existing non-conforming residence, and you know, the town code did in the 1960s permit a 2.5-story dwelling, right? So, and the best photo I could get was back to 1960, but clearly the house was there, and then the CO itself indicates that it's pre-existing.
What CO says that it's a 2.5 or a 3-story? Because you keep saying it's a pre-existing non-conforming.
The CO itself
Structure.
says pre-existing on it, but the reason this came up to begin with was that the COs are not at all clear as to what, if you look at the 1965 CVO, which is attached to my papers, it indicates a
2-story frame house.
right. Everything says 2-story, but then we have another CO 1974 that says 1 2-story family, 2-story dwelling, 1 garage, an apartment. We have another one that says 2-story frame house with 2 apartments, 1 garage, and an apartment. So how the issue came up was when we passed the rental permit inspection, and then when the file went back to the building department, the questions were raised as exactly what's here, right? So they said apply for an updated C of O. So the owner applied for the updated C of O, and then that's sort of what.
No, I believe that, but I'm asking, you keep saying it's a pre-existing non-conforming 3-story, and I'm just asking what says that?
Nothing says 3-story,
Okay.
but the CO says pre-existing.
Sure. So the whatever buildings and structures are there pre-existed zoning.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the questions have been too, on the latest CO when it mentions the 2 apartments, the question is where were those apartments?
Well, that's an
Right.
important question.
And so why don't you explain the configuration of the house, which this is where we think it's
There's no
not.
height variance being sought, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
So where do we end? If you look at the satellite photo from '62, if you have a copy of that,
Yep.
you can sort of see like the front of the house is, it's like a long rectangle that's perpendicular to the street, and then a second building that's attached to it that's parallel. There's a front staircase, a back staircase. There's a theory that the apartment was part of the space above. When you go to the back staircase, that finished attic space was the apartment. Is the idea.
So
And
you
then-
don't, because that's what I was running to, you don't think it was that pre-existing CO was issued and then they did the ZBA subdivision and then that separated them?
There-
No.
I didn't think so, because also
No.
you can't. That doesn't reconcile the building count, the structure count that's on the CO.
Okay,
As far as we can tell.
Okay.
When the ZBA gave the 2 lots, was there a building on both lots or just on this?
I think there was like a
Well,
barn. I think there was a
there's a
barn.
There was a barn,
There's
so
a barn
this
on
was the
this was the main
only
house.
structure
Yes.
really was
Yeah.
on the first
Yeah.
lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
so what is this survey?
So
That's
that's
from-
That's the 81 survey showing the 2 lots.
And then the satellite's from 62.
Correct.
It's
So
showing roughly the.
But this shows a 1-story house here and a 2-story house here.
I think that 1-story house was like a barn.
It was a barn first.
And that's not the house we're talking, the structure
No,
we're
it's
talking
not.
about now.
Actually, in the satellite photo, you can. It looks more like a barn.
And the street is here, you know, so it's like,
Yeah.
you know, on the bottom.
So
This
you
is a-
maintain that everything on this CO is on your lot now? These buildings and structures? What would have been a 2-story frame house with 2 apartments, 1 garage, 1 apartment?
Yes,
Yes.
But it's only a single-family house?
correct.
Correct. Yeah.
John, this is your application. Do you want to start us off?
So tell me more about your efforts to figure out when this was finished.
Well, the FOIL from the building department really had no more information than what I supplied you in terms of the C of Os. Obviously, there were no plans or anything, we've looked at both this lot and the northerly lot that was created as part of that subdivision, and we were not able to find any other documentation. Like I said, we were trying to figure out the age of the home, and clearly that 3rd story has been there. I mean, it's part of the original construction of the
So
house.
the structure itself has been there, whether it was finished as
That's
a
the
third
issue.
story.
Yes,
That's my
the issue.
question.
So
That's
the best,
what I'm asking.
yeah, right. And so, like we said, the best we could do. I mean, we went as far as looking at the serial number for the electric in that area, which predates 1980. That's the best we can do. So we're assuming.
That was pretty inventive.
Yes.
So wait,
That was
so
all
there's
her-
an
It's that
electric
and white
panel
pipe
on the
floors.
3rd floor
Yes.
that has
It's on the 2nd floor that controls the 3rd floor, but with the.
it's on the 2nd floor.
That
on the
controls
But
second-
it
it.
controls
the
the
3rd floor.
Well, it doesn't really say anything to me. I have to say I'm not too keen on your application. I think it's completely distinguishable from other cases that you provided. The last case that we had in November of 2023, the one that 69 Goose, Wild Goose Lane, that's distinguishable because we had testimony from family members that the applicant was the son of the man who built the house and had been there since the 70s prior to zoning, knowing that the house was built prior to zoning and the 3rd floor was finished prior to zoning. So absent information like that, and I don't really find the electrical panel very convincing either, because that could have been put in after the fact and it could have been wired to the 3rd floor after the fact. So I have to say that I'm a no on this application.
Well, with all due respect, and I hear your position, every case is distinguishable on its facts. First of all, they're all slightly a little bit different. But for example, 13 Basket Neck, I believe, is one where this board granted the variance for the 3rd floor, and there was testimony that the applicant himself converted that space to habitable space.
What year was that?
What year was the decision, or what
Yeah.
year was it done?
What year was that?
That was April 5th, 2018. So, I mean, there are a number of.
We've had a couple of applications where we have approved the 3rd floor. And I remember one that was, I think it was John Bennett's case, where we approved it with the stipulations like we did with Bruce Lane, which was basically, obviously, sprinklers. We also said space can't be expanded. If the house is taken down, this is not a guarantee that you get a third floor. I mean, you know, so with really
And we would
tight
agree with all
restrictions.
those. We would
on-
agree with those.
yeah.
I agree with Susan on all of
Yeah. I went to the property. It's a lovely property. The house is, it's really quite beautiful. It's, you can't distinguish the third floor from the street at all. I mean, it just looks like a normal house. I mean, you know, and it doesn't look like it doesn't protrude up. It doesn't, you know, nobody can see it. I mean, it's very vegetated.
The ceiling heights are only at their highest 7 feet, and then they slope down from there.
Yeah. So the ceiling height on the third floor is 7 feet.
Correct.
About this
at the-
wide.
at that-
It's funny, what we're talking about is a third
Right.
story because it's a third level, but it's finished attic space.
Yeah.
It's like
That's
a half
what
a
it is.
story.
Right, and that's
So
what
when
it
you
should
said
be.
finished access, is there a
That's what it should
bathroom
be.
up
What's
there,
the
or
use
what's
of
up
the
there?
space?
There's two bathrooms.
How is it
Office
presented?
space.
With a full bath, or a half bath, excuse me, a half bath.
There's two.
I mean,
full baths.
the
They were there.
issue that we have,
Pardon me, I'm
I
sorry.
was just saying, the floor plan is there's 2 rooms, 2 bathrooms up there. That was there. We didn't put any of it in. In terms of age, we know that the prior owner also didn't put it in. So, and the prior owner, I think, purchased the house in 2005.
what proof do you have of those statements that you can
Just-
present here today?
I mean, the concern obviously is whatever decision gets made, whatever happens, if it continues and it's allowed, there's nothing that stops it being converted into a bedroom.
Well, the decision would prevent it from being
Well, I
converted
understand
into a
that, but in
bedroom.
practice, right,
What-
it's not too
that's-
hard to move a desk downstairs and a bed upstairs.
Right, that's a code enforcement issue that you deal with in
Code
anything with
Yeah, with
finished
everything.
basement. I mean,
So it's now, you using that as office space?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Helen, any comments from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application? Okay, so before we make a decision about what to do, you know, in terms of going forward with this, you did say you submitted. You made a comment about the cost of taking it back to just storage area, and you estimated the cost of between $70,000 and $140,000. Is that correct? Is that something that you can submit in writing, please, or and a justification for it? Because we very often want to see what the costs are to rectify the situation. So we need to get some valid information on that point as part of the record, and then we also consider it in terms of what our decision is. Is there anything else people on the board would like to see on this application?
I'd like to see some of the statements be evidenced.
Okay, is
if
there,
they- if
can you
you-
get
if-
a written statement from the previous owner? You know,
We tried.
Yeah, but still,
we're happy to get you whatever you're requesting, but I do want to make sure the board considers the fact that there have been multiple similar situations in which the board has granted this kind of relief, especially when a homeowner has, you know, purchased the home, was not aware of the.
I know, but you know, really, that's really hard for us to accept. The fact, you know, you've got to do your homework when you purchase a home, and you've got to figure out what's, you know, legitimate and what's not legitimate. I find that this case has some. I'm a little less objectionable about this case because it does go back so far. I mean, the house has been there for so long, and it's hard to.
but we can't say that, Susan.
Well,
That's the
house has been
problem.
there.
The house has been
Yes,
there.
I agree.
The house has been there, but the finished third floor, we
Right.
don't have any evidence in front of us. And remember that we are a quasi-judicial body. We have no evidence in front of us to support any of the statements being made by the applicant at this point.
Okay.
And I think that we have to step very carefully when we have applications like this, especially because we wind up opening the door. And unfortunately, sir, I understand your situation, and we've seen it far too many times, but your realtor should have known that a third floor is not permissible in the town of Southampton, and that should have been made aware of you, and you could have foiled and found out some more information with regard to this situation prior to purchasing the house, and maybe you would have had the ability to talk to the previous owner, find out the provenance of that third floor build out, and then if you needed to go for a variance, then you could have had the evidence that you need here today. But right now, I don't see a thing here today other than a bunch of variance decisions and some say-so statements, some unproven statements.
Hindsight's certainly 2020.
Yeah, absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you. Hindsight's 2020. I wish we would have known about the FOIL process as part of closing, because it could have saved a lot of time and agony to this point. That said, while we're buying the house, we had 2 brokers representing the house.
Yeah.
As we bought it, we had what we thought was an up-to-date CO that covered the house we were buying. This isn't our first time buying a house. It's our first time buying a house in Suffolk County. I've learned a lot since. During then, we had counsel. We worked with 2 brokers, and everything was out in the open. Nothing was hidden about what existed at the house. So we thought what was out in the market, what had a CO, was
What's the
there and legal.
necessity for, see, in like the Wild Goose Lane, what John was saying is correct. We had testimony from the family that it had been used for many years, and they were familiar with it. What is the necessity of the 3rd floor for you, other than the fact that it's going to increase the value, the property value, which frankly, it's not our concern.
Sure.
So what's the necessity for the space?
Workspace. The reason we purchased the house for our large family to be able to visit
It's no
us.
bedrooms. It's
But it allows space to move around the house.
how large is the house without the square footage for the
I think 3,200 square feet.
3,200 square
Yeah.
feet without the 3rd floor?
Something like that, yeah. I have it right here.
It's not a small house.
No, but we have 12
but
people
they,
in our family, and
They work from home quite a bit. They use them as office space. I don't know. I find it very, the fact that this board has granted this kind of variance when the homeowner has admitted on the record that they in fact converted it to living space themselves just to make room for their growing family, which would be in the 13 Bridle Path case. I don't know. I think that should support your decision in this case, where the applicant has shown that there's a significant value attributable to the space. I can certainly get you an estimate from a contractor
Let's
about
get
the
that.
cost of
But we
removal.
don't consider applications based upon what would be more valuable for the
I understand,
applicant.
but you do
That's
consider
not
you
an
do
option.
consider applications about the cost of removal, and I will get
Yes.
you that. And I think every single decision I've submitted has shown that the removal of that kind of space is expensive. So I'll get you that information.
We'd like that information for sure. And I recognize what you say about our other decisions, and like I said, we can put some pretty tight
course.
constraints on moving forward on this.
I'm in agreement with Susan. If it's going to get granted, it needs to be tight constraints.
Well, you did that in the last decision that you had in 2023.
We've done it in more
right,
than
and
one.
that's completely,
yes,
we
we've done it.
expected that. So
And
we have
there's-
no
But one of
problem
the
with
things that I think John is saying is, we don't want this to be open market. Everybody comes
Three
in,
stories.
they've
Yeah.
redone the 3rd floor, and then they goes, well, you had you granted a variance on this and a variance on that. So I think John's point about, let's see if we can do a better job of trying to find some of the history involved and when this got done. Because and the timing on it, because otherwise, everybody could come in and say, oh, I bought this house and there's a 3rd story, and we don't know when it. So you understand where we are on that. So
And I think your what you just said makes the point. You said we expected this, and this can't become an expectation.
No.
You
I
mean,
don't
she
think-
expected
no.
the conditions.
I expected
No,
the
the
conditions. You're
conditions, yeah.
mischaracterizing what I said. I expected that
Yeah.
the board would put reasonable
I
conditions.
heard it that way. I heard it
But
that
no,
way, yeah.
but hold on. But that is the problem. That is the problem. That you would expect that you would be able to just get the relief,
No,
and
that
we
is
would
not what I
provide
said.
it with
No.
hold on, and that we would provide it with certain conditions. And I think that that's a really difficult thing for us. And I think that really has to be considered. And quite honestly, the Bridle Path decision, if I had sat on this board in 2017 or 2018, I would have been a no as well. Because I don't think that people should be, unfortunately, and I say it to my clients all the time, I'm an attorney here in the town of Southampton, you buy violations. And homeowners have to think about that. Prospective homeowners have to consider that. And we can't be the way in which you cure defects of the purchase that you made. We just can't. So I would like to give you an opportunity. I'd like to hold this application open and I'd like you to come back with some actual evidence that supports your position. I'm saying that on the application as it sits here today, I'm a no. If you were to come back and show me, oh, that property, that building, that third floor was there since 1965, different situation. And that would more closely conform with the decision we had in November of 2023.
Right. Okay, so let's just see what you can come back with. You know, we want an estimate of the costs.
Sure.
You know, a legitimate, not just like, well, the square footage cost, blah, blah, blah. You know, make it, you know, stand up to scrutiny. And then, see if you can do a little bit more research on the, when this floor was actually put in.
The floor is, I think there's.
No, the floor's been put in. I
It's
mean,
there. It was there on the house.
converted into the 2 rooms and the 2 baths. Are they full baths or do they have baths?
They're full.
Both.
Both are full. Yeah.
How old are the baths? Were they upgraded in time?
At some point, they were certainly upgraded, but
I mean, if I walked in, it wouldn't look new, right?
it wouldn't. We didn't put them in. They look newer. That's all I can say about the finishes of the bathroom.
Thank you for your candor.
Okay, and it may have something to do with the apartment issue, so you may want to go with that angle a little bit and see what's
That's what I'm
going
thinking
on.
also.
We've
Yeah.
tried digging very deep on trying to establish when exactly they were put in. Talk to the local history museum because the house is old, and tried to figure out if anyone has any idea of when the house was even built. And the house presents as very like 1910, 1920. Walking up the stairs, the back staircase has like sort of like maid's quarter in the back with a
That's
big
probably
open
what it
back
was.
staircase. And I wish we could say definitively that that's we had a date for that.
Okay,
When you come back, can you bring some photos of what's inside and inside what's outside? If that's okay.
Yeah.
Photos now.
Why don't we put together a
Just
package?
because
you're gonna
we're-
have to come back, you know, anyhow, we're gonna adjourn this and you can do some written submissions for us.
Sure.
In the process. When do you want to come?
I just want to add something just for the board because I understand what everybody's saying on this. I do find it beneficial to them, I guess, for their case that there are not 2 apartments. The
Right.
pre-existing CO on this caused me a little concern because I was like, oh my God, why? How many units are on this property, right? So to the extent that that has somehow been abandoned, eliminated, not resurrected, I think you should at least be looking at that as positive, right? Because there is a pre-existing CO that has these non-conforming uses that are not there.
Could have been the back staircase going up to the whatever, but,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just saying.
okay. So, John?
Yes, okay. When would you like to come back?
Oh, wait a second, Helen, Helen, did you want to say something?
I do want to say that I've been listening very closely, and I want to say that I agree with the comments made by John. So I will also be, until I see any documents, I will also be a no.
Okay. So, John, go ahead.
Okay, when would-
Wait a second, did we
yeah.
ask about the audience? Yes, I did, all right,
Did we
okay,
do
so we're
Zoom?
now, we did audience and Zoom, so,
Okay,
okay,
we did.
we're
Okay.
set.
So we have one date in July. We have June 20th, July 18th,
Oh, June 20th.
August 1st.
This is.
Yeah.
You tell me.
7/18 or 8/1.
Sorry,
7/18 or 8/1.
7/18?
Yeah,
Is that good for
7/18
you?
is the earliest, yeah, 7/18.
Well, no, you could
Okay.
come back 6/20. You could come
I
back
I think you're
7/18,
gonna do some
8/1.
research, so I would come
6/20 is
back on
tight.
July. Okay,
Okay, July 18th. Okay, so I move to hold the application open to July 18th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. Masconia.
Aye.
Ms. Kane,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. Okay, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number
is yours.
3 on the agenda, Patricia Spotto, 33 Ragnar Lane, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-97-2-7. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, for a proposed addition and screen porch Sub 1, Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal front yard setback from 40 feet to 29.7 feet. Sub 2, Section 330-115D, Continuance for a principal minimum side yard setback from 10 feet to 8.4 feet and total side yard setback from 19.23 feet to 17.4 feet. And Sub 3, Section 330-84D, pyramid height for sky plane encroachment on the east side of 89 cubic feet. 2, for a proposed wood deck, Section 330-83A4, yards to allow a deck that will be higher than 1 foot above ground level to be located in the required front yard at setback of 16.3 feet on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Just 1 second, let me pass these down. Julie's
These are
already
for
got the
you.
original of that.
So
Oh, these are me.
You're gonna put those in the
Go
basket.
in there, put it on your basket. New members.
So this is gonna go on your
Kim,
bed.
do you want to introduce yourself? and-
Good evening, Kimberly Judd, 737 Riverhead, New York. I have with me Sean Leonard, architect, also my client Patricia Spado, if you'd like to swear to her.
Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Sean Leonard, 320 Hampton Road, Southampton, New York.
Okay. Do you swear to tell, are you an attorney?
No.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Patricia Spado, 33 Ragnar Lane, Southampton.
Okay. Kimberly, tell us about your application.
Like the case that you just heard before us, this lot was also created by a ZBA decision. Do you see the first, and I don't know what color it is in your package, but the first tag, you'll see there's a ZBA decision from 1984. And if you flip to the next page, you'll see the map. So this, at one time, before 1984, was one lot. It had 2 houses on it. And you'll see the parcel that's labeled parcel number 2, that's Mrs. Spado's lot. So it was created in 1984 by variance. The single and separate shows that it has remained in single and separate ownership since then. So it's entitled to 3/10, 4/10 relief, which is reduced rear yard and side yard setbacks pursuant to the code. What she would like to do, and then there's a CO. Of course, the house is a single family dwelling. There's a CO from pre-existing that's in your package. And I've been seeing a lot of these lately, and it's disconcerting. But this has 2 front yards. So if you look at the survey, Ragnar Lane is here. This is the front of the applicant's house. And to the back here is Fresh Pond Lane. So there's 2 front yards in effect. I would submit to you that a lot of the variances you see on the list are generated by this being a front yard, because if this was just another lot back here, this deck that we're proposing wouldn't need any variances because we meet the distance to lot line variances. But because this is also a front yard, we have a front yard requirement now for this rear deck where it wouldn't be in place if it was not a front yard, I'm sorry. So I'd like to, I don't know if you have Sean Leonard's plan, that way you could see the size of the floor plan and that the addition that the applicant is asking for, I think is very modest. So in addition to the 2 front yards, you'll see on the survey, the house is not centered, it's not parallel to the lot line, so it's crooked, so it's tilted in such a manner. What she's looking to do is to put a very small addition to the back for a full bathroom and a closet, and it's going to be lined up with the existing house. But because the house is tilted on the lot, you'll see here, right, so it's straight, but it comes closer to the lot line. Now, if you look at the floor plan here, you'll see that Mrs. Spado's house, she has an existing floor area of 782 square feet. And you'll see she has a bedroom, an existing living room. There's a bathroom with a stand-up shower. There's a kitchen, another bedroom, and then she has her deck right now. And she doesn't have a dining room. And what she would like to do is to build a 118 square foot addition, which is this bathroom and closet. And if you take a look at the picture that I just handed out. This is a very charming property, I don't know, and the neighborhood is really cute.
It's very cute.
Yeah,
Adorable.
yes.
So cute.
So,
I love it.
as you'll see, the front of the house right here is Ragnar Lane, right? And coincidentally, if you look at this bottom picture here, she's got a fence, a stockade fence. She's got, are those roses, Mrs.
The
Spada?
whole fence is climbing
Roses?
roses, yes.
Right, so you can't even see, see Fresh Pond Lane behind her. So, going to the property, you think you're looking at a rear property line, but in reality, behind that fence is
a road.
a road. So that's Fresh Pond Lane. But if you look at this bottom right-hand picture, you'll see, right here is where she wants to square it off. So, you wanna, right, Sean, this is where she's squaring it off, is this area right here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you'll see that she's got, part of her house is already there, and there's a deck. And then she just wants to square off this area right here, because if you look at the floor plan, right now it's kind of like an L shape. So she just wants to put a 118 square foot bathroom with a closet, and the minimum relief, I think, for a pyramid, she's requesting, where is it? 89 cubic feet for her pyramid.
So
Yeah.
much. Oh my God.
You know,
You sure?
now, the one issue that I don't agree with the building inspector on, but it was advertised this when I put it in my application, is that the building inspector felt I needed single side yard relief. I don't think I do, and I'll just want to go through the math with you, but you can disagree with me if you
I think
want.
you have to have a minimum of 10 feet.
Well,
That's- You apply the rule, but you must have a minimum of 10 feet.
10 feet, okay,
Yeah,
so
so that's-
we have the 10 feet right here.
Yes,
So
no, I
you see
understand, but
before-
that's what I think.
Okay, so that's probably
Yeah.
what the building inspector was
Yes, I mean,
talking
that
about.
would just be another variance request at this point.
Right, and then, so you'll see it because, and we're not, even though it's 10.5 currently.
Yeah.
It's going straight back, and it comes to 8.4, but it's because of the way the house is
House is not
situated on
straight
the
on the line,
property.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, we would need total side yard relief, single side yard relief, lot coverage, the pyramid for the bathroom addition, and the deck, because the deck is in a front yard because of Fresh Pond Lane.
Anything from any neighbors?
I have not heard, she says she has not heard, but I don't know if there's anybody here.
Any
who
neighbors?
wants
I
to-
spoke to my neighbors, they were fine.
Julie, do you want to?
Yeah,
Well, before we do any other presentation, do you want to, at this point, make a presentation?
Did you have
John?
anything you wanted to add?
Patricia,
The only
did
thing
you
I
wanna
would
say
add is that if it, like I said, if it was not another front yard and it was a rear property line, 330-115 says lots under 39,999 square feet have a side/rear yard setback of 10 feet. So we would be 16.3, we would have conformed if that road wasn't running behind us.
One question on that road. Does it go to the water, or it just sort of ends right after your property?
It
Is that
goes to
right?
the water.
It
There's a
does?
There's a public dock there.
Okay, because it does, on this picture, it doesn't look like it does. Okay.
You don't access, you
Yeah.
don't use that as a driving, nothing back there.
No,
It's
I
code.
have no gates, mine's
No gate?
completely stockade.
Julie, do you want
Yeah,
to
I
take
thanks
a lead
for
on this?
presenting. I went and saw the house. It's lovely.
Thank you.
It is tight there, and I have a couple of questions that I wanted to understand more. First of all, your house seems to be setting up a little higher than the neighboring houses. Am I right on that?
Just to my neighbor to the right.
The neighbor to the right,
Looking at the house. to
looking at the
right.
house, so the neighbor to the right.
Is
And
on
what?
the pond,
Okay,
and then
and
there's a bulkhead, and then that's my house.
okay, and so I saw a small retaining wall. It looked like a brick retaining wall between the houses. Is that
This is
yours
the
or
land.
theirs?
This is the way the land drops going down to the water.
Yes, okay, okay. So, I'm just, I had some concerns about the fact that because you're higher and, that this could have a more significant impact than it otherwise would have. Can you help me understand that a little bit?
Well,
And that neighbor on the right has not raised any issues.
and they're very close, you saw how close they are to
Very,
her
very
property
close,
line. So they're
yes.
much closer than she is to the
Mhm.
property line. But I think as far as being high, we're not going any higher than
Right.
the existing roof line. So we're gonna be staying within the existing roof line, so the house is not being raised up, so to speak.
So it shouldn't be doing anything to block.
No.
No, because you see, this is already there, this part,
Yes, I see.
which is I wanna say the bed, no, I'm sorry, the kitchen. So this is the existing kitchen right here.
Mhm.
It's already pushed out, right? So we're just looking to match up with that and square off for the bathroom and the closet. And then we're also proposing a very small, modest screened porch.
Mhm.
So that screen porch and the bath are all gonna be
One roofed space.
one roofed space,
And the reason
right?
for that
And
is
then
that
the
her
deck.
kitchen is so small, she has like no dining, so she thought at least if I had the screen porch, I would have at least, like a.
During the temperate months. right?
Exactly, I can have some sort of dining space, at least a place to sit and eat.
Right, and that won't, the screen porch is going to maintain that setback and won't be any closer than the existing house already is.
Correct.
Can you imagine reconfiguring the deck and the screened-in porch such that it didn't encroach as far into the road setback as it does right now? Is that a possibility?
How large is the deck? What's the square footage on the deck?
211 square feet.
Right.
That's really tiny.
Yeah.
It's a very small area. I mean, it's been said, it's a
Small
lovely
area.
community, very small, modest home. I don't have a problem with the relief he requested.
I also submitted other variances in the neighborhood. I'm not gonna go through them because
Yeah.
it's like Pine Neck, it's Pine Neck, it was a small area, a lot of variances, but it is a small area. The lots that are right next to Mrs. Spado onto the east are small, and actually the houses are bigger, but they're pre-existing. So,
Yeah, I think the relief is modest in
And what did you say the lot,
comparison to what we've seen.
what did you say the lot coverage was? Because I don't think we wrote
22,
that up.
it's on the
yeah, it's on the survey, so
survey.
he, the building inspector didn't put it in the notice, but I
Okay.
put it in my application, and it is on the survey.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Are there any more questions from board members? Is anyone in the audience wishes to be heard on the application of 33 Ragnar Lane? Is anyone on Zoom wishes to be heard on 33 Ragnar Lane? Okay, Julie, this is yours.
Yes, so it sounds like there is support. Anybody have any concerns? Are you satisfied, Kevin, that you got the answer on the deck?
I didn't get an answer.
Well, I think it was because the chairwoman replied, but I would say if you look at the balancing test, right, you have to look at the granting of the variance and whether it would cause a detriment to the neighborhood. And that's why I submitted the picture, so you could see that deck is fully screened from here, and you can't see it from the neighboring properties, and you wouldn't even know there was a road on the other side. And it really is a small deck. And look at all the room that they have, and also balancing the equities in favor of the applicant is that there are 2 front yards. So if this was not a front yard, this deck would totally conform.
My question is, you understand my
Yes.
question.
So-
Thank you.
Okay.
So, to answer your question, any reconfiguration of this deck would still require some sort of a variance. from this
I get that, I'm just trying to minimize it.
Right, and unfortunately, I think right now we have this deck down to a 14 by 14 deck, so I'm sure we can make it a 10 by, but it doesn't make much of a.
What if it was shifted over to the, what would that would be the left side of the survey? If it shifted over more, would the variance be less?
We don't, well, unfortunately, what I'm getting at is as a 14-foot depth, so we could make it shorter, but then it's, as soon as you get to like a 10 by deck, I'm saying, then you're now all of a sudden, it's a narrow deck.
I
And
understand.
yes, we could shift it, make it longer, so I'm saying we can accomplish the same square footage, make it a narrow, long
Well,
deck.
I would
Kevin,
ask
can
you
I,
to consider that, that's all.
okay, can I just be sure though I understand your point? Because if you look at this, survey, are you suggesting to create less of a variance, you would tilt the thing?
I'm just,
Put it sideways?
he's the designer, he's the architect, I'm just asking, is there a way that you can imagine?
Right.
Any reconfiguration, modest as it is, that makes it fit better, that's all. Knowing that other people will come in and ask for similar things, as you've already heard.
You know, it often is difficult with two front yards.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, if this wasn't a two front yard thing, that would be one thing, but this is a two front yards and we do
There
have.
are two front yards, but it's a very tiny lot also, so
Yes,
it's
a very
like,
tiny lot,
It's
yeah.
minimal relief
we
too.
should talk about the other
Minimal.
things, so,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
The other part is it's a narrow lot, so when you shift the deck one way or the other.
You're gonna hit against
That's what I
something,
mean.
yeah, you might hit
I'm
another
always
variance
leaning up
request,
against
yeah.
another.
understood, I didn't say it was easy, I just
Yeah,
asked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
everyone have like a-
true.
all right, Julie, I think, the dates are,
Yes,
okay.
so the
Do you want to close it?
yeah, I think we are prepared to move to close it.
Hold it open for,
When are we holding it open
we
till?
hold it open for
Close the
written
app-
comments.
We're closing the
hearing
app-
on the application.
We're closing the hearing on
Hearing.
the application,
Set for written submissions on July 7th.
setting for written submission on July 5th,
With a decision on July 18th.
with a decision on July 8th.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just have to say one thing. Do you need a wetlands permit for this?
No.
No, so you have a letter of non-jurisdiction, or there's no wetlands?
No, there's no wetlands.
Okay.
Okay, is there
Sorry.
a second to Julie's motion?
Second.
Okay,
Third.
Ms. Kane,
Yes,
Mr.
aye.
Leonard,
Aye.
Mrs. Mastonio.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 on the agenda, 45 Pinecrest LLC, 45 Pinecrest Lane, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-118-1-17. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 1. 330-6 General Regulations that references 330-11 Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for principal front yard setback from 40 feet to 20 feet and Section 330-84D Pyramid Height for an east side sky plane encroachment of 2,112 cubic feet and any other relief necessary.
What has jurisdiction? This is for Susan.
Oh, so.
John, does the 3-minute rule apply to lawyers?
To him? Yes.
That's not, yes.
Take all written.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is John Bennett, and I'm a member of Bennett Reed in Southampton. And I've handed out some supplemental materials
Before the road's ripped.
for the board's consideration. In going over this application tonight, before I got here, I realized that on its own merit, even without the fact that a building permit was issued in error and relied upon, it's a pretty good application based upon the fact that you have two side yards, two front yards. But compounding the issue is the fact that my client purchased this property from a prior owner that had obtained a wetlands permit, Department of Health Services approval, and a building permit for the construction of the single-family residence on this property. And the foundation was installed by my client. And at that time, after the original foundation inspection, the building department said, oops, the foundation is in the wrong. It's not in the wrong location, it's in the location that was approved for the building permit, but you can't have a 22-foot setback, you have to have a 30-foot setback. So the zoning in the area creates a 40-foot setback, but since we have a wetlands permit, and obviously that's part of the practical difficulty, as we used to call it, the code kindly drops the setback requirement to 30 feet, but it doesn't, it says half the setback, but no less than 30, but we need 20 here. So let me take you through the history of this. As I said, this application, my client purchased the property in reliance on a building permit that was issued, constructed the foundation, and then the building inspector stopped work because they said that the building permit was issued in error. So I want to make sure that everybody understands this is not a builder's error case, which has a certain standard. This is a case regarding good faith reliance on a building permit, which all the way up to the Court of Appeals they have recognized is the basis for a variance. There's that very famous case that on 96th Street where the developer went up 6 extra stories because there was a misreading of the zoning line, and the city said, take those 6 stories down. And it went up to the Court of Appeals, and they were trying to stop the building inspector. And the Court of Appeals said, we can't stop the building inspector. You cannot, a building inspector, unlike a private party, cannot be, stopped, which is a legal term, as you know, Robert, for because of reliance that you've taken on another person's position, that person can't change their position. You can't say that to the building inspector. But what you can do, the Court of Appeals noticed at the end of that Parkview case, is that you can go to the Board of Standards and Appeal, which of course is the City of New York's zoning Board of Appeals. So this is not a builder's errors case. This is a reliance on a good faith reliance on a building permit. So there are 2 issues. The setback nonconformity. We're in a zone that requires, on this corner lot, which again was almost a built-in, as we used to call it in the old days, practical difficulty, because the town code doesn't give any relief for 2 front yards. So we're in a zone that requires, on a corner lot, the front yard setbacks of 40 feet, one onto Pinecrest, one onto Locust. We meet it onto Pinecrest. We don't make it on Locust. We have a building permit. That would take it down to 30 feet, but we're asking for the 20 there. So that's what we're talking about. Now, I'm going to say 85% of this variance request is based upon the improvements that were made in reliance on the building permit. What we would like, since we're here, because the foundation is at 22 feet, where it's supposed to be at 30, we'd like 20 feet there. We're suggesting cantilevering it out for 2 feet, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. Denial of that relief would actually result in a building that a house that didn't conform with the minimal square footage requirements for the first floor in a house in this code. It's a very small house. As a matter of fact,
let me just clarify. So what you're saying is, if you don't cantilever it out,
right,
you won't miss the minimum first floor standards.
Let me read it to you. Thank you. Exactly. The original building permit that was issued for the foundation was built to be 22 feet from Locust Drive, which is where the foundation was constructed. The applicant is proposing to construct the residence to a setback of 20 feet from Locust Drive to provide a little more space, because it's a small house. It's not a very wide house. To provide a little more space within the proposed home and bring the home into compliance with the town minimum floor area requirements. The home that was originally permitted did not have a first floor of the minimum 800 square feet. If you look at section 330105, the schedule of minimum maximum floor areas, in the R20 zone, you have a minimum floor area of 800 square feet. And on a 1.5 story or 2-story home must have a combined 2-floor space of 1,200 square feet. By the way, this home with the 820 square foot that we're proposing will be 1,345 square feet. It's 145 square feet over the minimum house size in the town of Southampton. This ain't a big home. It's a small lot. It's a pre-existing non-conforming house. It's consistent with the neighborhood, but it's not a big home. Yeah, if we can't do the cantilevering, excuse me, I'm stumbling on that word. I apologize. You end up with a first floor of 767.2 square feet, which is it's a little bit shy, but it's shy of the 800 square foot minimum. So that's why that 2 feet of cantilevering, Susan, is the only part of relief that we need that we can't trace back to the faulty building permit. But as long as we're here, I think it makes sense to ask for it because it's reasonable.
Absolutely.
So that's what happened. So with this, And then again, because the corner lot is required to comply with front yard setbacks, again, at both the Pinecrest and to Locust.
Let's talk about the pyramid relief.
And then we'll talk about the pyramid. This is interesting what happened with the pyramid. And I think what's extremely helpful is, let me jump right to I've got attached as to, I think it's tab 2 on the handout. Jason Orman, who's the new architect, who knows how to draw a pyramid line, as opposed to the prior architect, explains it all very well. So the construction drawings that were issued by Shen and Associates, February 22nd, 2021, that were approved by the building department, they were originally drawn. The pyramid diagram included with those plans didn't establish the average grade. He just took a 0 grade. And as everybody knows, what you have to do is you have to show the average grade along the front yard. So the original pyramid drawings just flatlined it, so to speak. That's a tough phrase, I'm sorry. At 0. The house, if you can look at the topography, the house is higher. There's some spot elevations on the side. On the Locust side, which is on the west side, it's 20.1. And then if you move over to the other side, it's 19. So, it's the average grade. And the architect that drew the original pyramid analysis didn't take into account the average grade.
When the original building permit was issued, did they have, did you need height variance back then too, or no?
No.
I mean,
Well,
pyramid
this
relief?
is what happened.
Pyramid or no?
This is what happened. He drew the pyramid wrong.
Who?
The architect drew the pyramid
And the
wrong.
building department.
And the building department signed off on it.
On the wrong drawing.
So
They
what was
signed
his
on
original?
an
Incorrect
incorrect
drawing.
pyramid law analysis. The original architect took a flat, 0 elevation. Didn't take into account that the height on the west side was higher because the property slopes off to a little bit. The new architect
Did it correctly.
properly calculated.
So what was the
pyramid.
difference?
Well, this is what's pretty interesting. We're not even asking to go back to where the original incorrect pyramid line was. This is what we did.
Reduced it.
I said, I have attached this correspondence, this is Orman writing, a pyramid diagram that I prepared representing the approved plans would have resulted in a pyramid of encroachment of 2,642 square feet.
You're not gonna find
The
out.
modified plans that what we're asking for propose a pyramid encroachment of 2,112 cubic feet along the easterly property line, 530 cubic feet less than the plan originally approved by the building department. How do we do that? I said lower the side, lower the height from 7.6 to 7.1. So we're in here, we're not trying to be aggressive, far from it. We have this improperly issued building permit. Let's go to the board and see, we want a little cantilever, need a little relief there. Let's see if we can get less of a pyramid encroachment than was actually on the plans that were
original.
approved. So I think that,
Wait a second, they were approved by the building department.
Yes.
Was there a variance granted?
no. Susan, what happened was the plans were approved by the building department and the roof line was shown
And
like
even though
this.
they noticed that there
Pyramid.
was like a pyramid relief necessary.
The plans were permitted for the wrong setback. and
That I got.
And an incorrect pyramid line.
So the pyramid law, I'm guessing, it
Thank you.
showed that they didn't encroach into the sky plane.
Right.
That's
But
what
what I don't understand, oh, all
Let me
right,
finish
all
it.
right.
Because you had the wrong setback. If you had the right setback, it would have approached.
they
No.
took it from the wrong grade.
They took it from
From
the wrong
the wrong
grade.
grade.
It's probably better.
And if they had
My-
done it correctly, it would have been 2,600 plus cubic feet of relief needed. And
Yes.
now you're coming back to us and saying we only want 2112.
Yes. So
But
I
you've
said
never,
to the
you've never
architect-
come before the zoning
Never
board
got that far.
for
No,
the
no, no.
original
No.
pyramid
No.
encroachment, okay.
Building department, and again,
Why they
So
revoke?
they assumed
What?
that it was not an encroachment, is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
but they assumed
incorrect
but the same way
Based
the
on
same way they
incorrect
assumed that the
plans.
setback was correct.
So help me understand
Yeah,
something. I read the wetland permit, which says it's supposed to be built on a slab. I went out to the site, you go out there, it looks like the top of the foundation, that
It's
isn't a
crawl
slab,
space.
it's a crawl space.
Yeah.
I didn't walk in and see how deep it was, but it looks like it's 4 feet above road grade or 4 or 5 feet above road grade. There's all kinds of fill around there, and there's concrete, 18-inch or 20-inch, sort of like a bunker around the property. So from what point of origin was are we talking about a pyramid line now being
Right
drawn?
here, it's on the scan, it's on
Well,
the, it's on the.
okay, how do I know the survey is, John, I don't know that the survey
Yes.
is what I just visited.
Well, I'm gonna have to give an as-built survey for the wetland certificate of compliance and to the building department before I get a certificate of occupancy. And I'm not asking for any of that relief, Kevin.
No, I'm not talking about the wetland, Marty.
Okay.
I mean,
Well, you started with the wetlands.
no, I was just trying to tell you that the wetland permit said it was built on a slab, and this is not a slab, and I was trying to reconcile the survey to the additional fill that had been brought in on the site. Because there's considerable amount of fill
Kevin,
on the
if
site.
I have a problem with Marty and the conservation
It's not with
board-
Marty, it's.
No, you let me finish, please. Because you're talking about something that's not your jurisdiction. If I have a problem with Marty or with the conservation board, I'll go back and work that out.
But I
We're
think
talking
it-
about a variance for, right here, we're talking about a variance for, please don't get frustrated with me. I'm telling you exactly what the law is. I'm here before your board asking you for a variance for pyramid relief and setback relief. If you think that there's some issue with compliance with the wetlands permit, I'll have to deal with that. I don't see it, but I'll have to deal with it.
But can
If
I
I have
ask
to
you,
modify it, I'll modify it.
can I ask you something, John? Because I also went to the property,
Mhm.
and maybe I'm misinterpreting what Kevin is saying,
Yeah.
but it did look like there was fill brought in, and that the foundation, the quote foundation, was higher to begin with. So I'm just saying, if we're looking at pyramid relief,
That is
you
my
know,
question.
yeah,
This is a spot elevation which shows the existing elevation on one side at 20.1 and the elevation at 2 spot elevations on the right side or east side at 19.6. That's exactly what the architect's pyramid analysis shows.
all right.
And
So
you're-
what, so you're
Exactly.
reassuring us, or reassuring me, that the fill wasn't brought in to raise it, so that we're gonna have to give you more pyramid relief because you raised it. Okay,
No.
that's all I
No,
want to know.
that's not part of my
Okay.
relief, Kevin, to
Okay.
my point. I'm not
Well,
asking
that's
for
what I'm
relief.
trying to establish, John, because
Okay.
it's not clear to anybody that just went out there and saw all this fill.
Bill was brought in, Marty's gonna be on it.
Okay, all right, so let's just assume that it's legit, and we're looking at the requests that you put forward.
Okay, so we'll be, again, so back to, I think Ormond's letter tells the story very nicely about the pyramid request, because not only, what we did is I said to the architect, see if we can, I know we have a building department that issued a building permit where there should have been pyramid relief, but see if we can do a little bit better here. And he shaved off 530 cubic square feet, which, you know, I think is
Well,
very helpful.
It's helpful, but I have to say, it's a small piece of property, and, you know, over 2,000 square foot relief is not insignificant.
Susan, I am relying on, I
I
don't
know.
understand your nervousness.
No, I'm not nervous.
I'm relying on a building permit that was issued on this property, Pearl Binder Holdings versus Service Sound.
I understand. But
Matter
we're
of
here to
River Rock, your
we're
own
here
case.
to correct the errors of the building department, correct? In
You're here
terms
to
of
correct the
setback-
errors of the
yes,
building
okay.
department.
And one of them was that they didn't do a pyramid encroachment.
They did not do a pyramid
Right,
encroachment.
okay, so
But
what
we
I'm
took
just,
the pyramid encroachment that they permitted.
and I know you lowered it, and I'm
We lowered it.
impressed, and that was good. But I'm just saying, it's still a fair amount of relief required.
Oh, I don't think so. You've
Well,
given
for a
relief.
small piece of property, and the other problem I had
Yeah.
in just citing it, you know, and I'm not necessarily gonna be opposed to this.
Okay.
It's very
That gives
close.
makes me feel better.
Oh, well, don't feel too comfortable.
What?
I don't feel too comfortable.
Don't what?
Don't
Get
feel
too
too
comfortable.
comfortable.
I should feel confident. This is a
Well,
good case.
But
She
it's
said
not a
it's
bad
seriously
case.
her ball.
But
Case.
here's my issue.
Okay.
It's very close to the property line of the neighbor.
Which, the
and-
neighbor to the west?
Yes.
He's 38 feet away, his house. Let me get you this.
I'm not talking about his house, I'm talking about the property line.
No, he's-
And, you know, if you've got a considerable pyramid relief request.
Is
I'm
there,
just
is there any
saying,
opposition? I
I
called
don't
today,
know.
there was no,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
okay, that's gonna be interesting.
so that's,
All right,
so that's gonna
the
be
next door
interesting.
neighbor to the west,
Okay,
to
That's
the, to
right.
the, rather, to the right-hand side.
to the right-hand
House is
side.
38 feet away. It's 38, I'm sorry, it's 38 feet house to house.
Okay, we're gonna hear from the neighbors, but
And
I'm
also-
just saying it's a lot of pyramid relief on a small piece of property, very close to a property line.
Yeah, you
That's my
can't
point.
build without any pyramid relief on this.
I get
number
it,
one.
I get it, but
Number one, and number two, I'm trying to build a house that is 100 and, let me get the numbers right, a house that is, I got the number for you.
you
Hold on a
gave
sec.
it to us
No, no,
before,
no,
it's
no, but,
145.
'cause I wanna
It's
emphasize.
145 square feet.
145 square
I got
feet less than the minimum size house in this zone. So how, regardless of the size of the lot, this becomes a large house is beyond me, Susan.
Okay, let me
Nobody
just
said it
ask,
was a large house.
We-
What
we're just
Susan was
talking-
saying is that
Right.
it's a large amount of relief for the piece of land on
So-
which it's to be built.
so
Based
John,
upon
That's different.
based upon a building permit that was issued by the building department.
in error.
I'm not so swayed by that.
Well, you have to be swayed by it. So let's talk about
I'm
this
not.
now.
Well, wait,
John, it's not a question of whether or not you're swayed by it. It's the courts of this state are swayed by it. So, good faith reliance on a building permit, in and of itself, is substantial proof of the necessity for a variance. Pearlbinder Holdings versus Servanasi, 27 New York, 29 New York Sup, 2016, Court of Appeals. Midrow Associates versus Smith, 564 New York Supplement, 3rd Department. It's well settled that expenditures, and I'll get to the expenditures, made in good faith and reliance on an invalid building permit support a variance by the Zoning Board of Appeals. River Rock Structured Capital, your own case, at the end of Crescent, much
Right,
more
but you have
significant
not
case.
provided those cases to us for us to review.
Oh, I'm doing it now. I'm doing it now, John.
Okay, well,
You're a
thank
lawyer.
you, but we
Please
we
review.
need to review them.
Of course you do.
obviously.
Yeah, of course you do.
Let me just ask you,
Yeah.
let's
Did you
see if
provide
we,
them in your submission?
Yes, I did. It's
Where
right in
are
the
they?
submission.
This new
It's
one?
the new
Or
one.
did you just, okay, so
Yeah.
we would need to look at them and
of
see
course
whether or
you
not
do.
they're
I'm not
correct.
expecting that you would close this evening. No, not yet. Okay.
so let's see if we can
But let me talk
this.
about
But
those.
can I just ask you one
Sure.
other question?
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about this pyramid relief.
Mhm.
Is there anything you can do to lessen it even further?
No,
Roof
because
line?
I'm at 7-1 right now. I'm at 7-1.
I-
That's building code. That's building
7-1
code.
for,
Yeah,
so,
of a height of the wall.
okay, so you can't, there's no way to
No, I'm at
do the sloping of the roof differently
I
to.
find myself very frustrated right now, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I said to the architect and I said to the owner, take this down to the minimum.
Okay.
Take it down to the minimum ceiling size for under the state building code. Make it less than what was approved in the faulty but nevertheless granted building permit. Take it down, and he lost 500 and something square feet. This is a great application. This fits into every reason why a zoning board of appeals exists. To understand that these things come about not only because of the size and configuration of the lots. You've got 2 front yards here, a classic case, which you've recognized time and time again. You've got somebody who didn't go out and was a wise guy and had somebody build something without approvals, relied not only on a health department permit and a wetlands permit, but a building permit, stamped approved, and then built the foundation in reliance on that, and was the stop work order 2 years ago. 2 years ago. So let me talk to you about.
Well, I just want to
Okay.
address your being frustrated. We have every right to ask these questions.
You have every right to ask.
So
the
don't
questions.
get excited about
I'm not
the fact.
excited. When I hear people saying that,
Okay.
you think this is a big house for such a lot.
It's a
It's
a modest house.
140
Nobody
feet.
said it was a big house.
Nobody said it's a
Susan
modest
said
house.
over and over again, it was a lot of relief.
It doesn't
Relief
matter.
is different from the house.
doesn't-
John, hold on a
Okay.
second. You've been talking a lot, and you got to let us tell you what we think so that you can respond to our questions, okay?
Fair enough.
My other question is, Okay, you said that all the ceiling heights are standard, but it looks to me like the great room has a portion of the great room has an 11-foot ceiling.
Yeah, because it's cathedraled out. What's wrong with that? So that means
It's
they
a
don't get a
cathedral ceiling,
John.
and then
That
you're
means
asking
they,
us for
that
that.
means they
For
don't
relief.
get that means they
That's-
don't get the benefit of having a second.
And that's an opportunity to reduce the relief demanded or requested.
You know what? There's reasonable and there's unreasonable, and you're being unreasonable right now.
It's unreasonable that they shouldn't have a cathedral ceiling
In one area of the
in
house.
an area of the
one
house.
area
It
of the
could
house.
significantly reduce the amount of relief
How's
requested.
that going to reduce the
It's an
amount of
area
relief?
for you to think about. If
You-
you're going to,
You're misunderstanding something. My side wall is 7.1 feet. The minimum is 7. That's where I have to start off from.
understood, and then it slopes all the way up and creates an 11 point, and I can barely read this. I think I need my phone in order to magnify it. 11.6, or no, 11.0. So it's 11-foot ceiling in the great room.
In one area. In
right.
one area.
But that's a place for your client to compromise. This is not about us just being beaten into submission to give you whatever you want.
Oh my God. That's
All right,
far
okay,
from it.
okay,
Come on,
enough.
John.
I just want to
That's
ask
not
you,
fair.
part of the submission that you gave us today has to do with landscaping. You want to talk about that?
No, that's not landscaping.
What
It's
is
a
that?
landscaping company that actually does foundation work.
Oh,
as
it's the
well.
foundation, okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
So
sorry. Okay.
what that is, and you'll see it, it's supply and install the concrete footing and foundation.
This is
as
to take it
shown
out.
on the plan was 17,000, including a concrete pump, because you gotta bring the concrete in. Then we'd have to demolish the existing
Okay.
foundation,
Oh, so this is-
7,500. And then we'd have to, rebuild a new foundation. And he's
So
also
this
been
is the-
carrying this,
Yeah.
he's been carrying this at $5,500 a month for 2 years, assuming he would take 10 to 12 months to complete. That's $132,000, and conservatively, it will take another year to complete at $66,000. So, I mean, he's
Okay.
really in the hole, and based upon permits that were issued by
Okay.
the town. I'm
Okay.
surprised this isn't just
No,
sort of,
I think you make some
stamp.
good cogent
not rubber
arguments.
stamp, John. I don't expect this board, and in the 34 years I've been appearing before this board, I never expect this board to rubber stamp anything. I expect you to put me through my paces and make the case, which is why I come in loaded for bear. Okay? I'm
You mean
not
gunning
done
for
yet.
bear.
All right.
I'm not done yet.
John has some more stuff he wants
I'm
to.
not done yet.
Hold on, I have a question, John.
Okay. Yes.
In red on the survey, those are what would be your conforming building envelope, right? Because if there is no conforming building envelope on this one.
There's essentially no conforming building
Right?
envelope on this. Yeah.
And I just wanted to add that because I had mentioned this at our last meeting. More often than not, the Conservation Board will make applicants, when they're subject to wetlands, they'll make them do 2 stories because the 1 story is gonna be,
Non-habitable.
it's not gonna be good for the wetlands.
Right.
Marty encourages people to go up. So I just wanted to add that,
Thank you.
because I'd mentioned that at our last meeting too.
Let's talk about the character of the neighborhood, which is of course one of the things that you're supposed to look at. And these are all submitted as part of the application. Okay. And you can see it in the if you can follow it along in the exhibits. The property labeled A is 4 Locust Drive, which is the corner lot on the southeast corner of Locust and Noyak.
I'm sorry, John, where are we?
On
your new submission?
On the new submission, you can, what I'm doing is I'm taking these exhibits and explaining them to
Okay,
you.
which exhibit are we talking about?
Talking about exhibit A. I'll go through I'll go A through D, and then I've got some other information about another property.
Under tab what?
Tab A, exhibit A.
What am I looking at?
You're looking at, there are both side tabs and there are lower tabs.
Oh, they were hidden on mine. Okay, sorry. Go
So
ahead.
exhibit A, the property label A is 4 Locust Drive, which is the corner lot on the southeast corner of Locust and Noyak. The existing home on that property maintains a front yard setback off of Locust Drive of 15.8 feet. We were asking for 20. B at 44 across the street from the subject property has a pre-existing front yard setback of 29.7, also non-conforming when there's no wetlands on that. C is the property on the opposite corner of Locust and Pinecrest. The existing home is 30 feet from Pinecrest, but the pre-existing home is also located 3.6 feet from its westerly side yard. So this is not, this
It's
is
an
more-
older home.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The fact it could date back to Roman times, it's the character of the neighborhood. So it doesn't matter how old it is. It's still, the fact that it's old doesn't extinguish its quality as constituting part of the quality of the character of the neighborhood. So D is a property located at 36 Pinecrest Lane, which received relief from this board to permit expansion of an existing home to a front yard of 30.6 feet, and also for pyramid encroachment for a proposed front porch. And there were no wetlands issues on that, which again is part of the practical difficulty. You've got wetlands issues on this, shrinking the building envelope, and you've got 2 front yards. It's a classic ZBA just begging for appropriate relief on it. And as I said when I started this case, this is a good case even without the building inspector's issuance of a building permit in error. The property located labeled E is 34 Pinecrest, which is also a pre-existing structure located 23.8 feet from Pinecrest Lane. So this is a neighborhood with all sorts of nonconformities. Also submitted additional variances for this board for properties in the surrounding area, including one at 4002 Noyak Road, where the board granted 1,569 cubic feet of relief on a 70-foot wide lot. We're requesting 2,112 for construction of the proposed residence, again in reliance on a building permit on a lot that's 60 feet in width and burdened by 2 front yards. So not that far away, on a 70-foot wide lot, you gave 1,569 cubic feet of relief, no wetlands issues, no 2 front yards. Here we have 2 front yards. We're asking for 2,112 cubic square feet, which again is 500 plus or minus less than the roof line that was approved by the building department. So if I seem frustrated, it's because I know what an appropriate case, what building blocks I have to use for an appropriate case. I don't take cases unless I think they're appropriate cases. A lot of people come in and I will say to them, no, I can't handle that case for you because I don't think I have the building blocks. But this has many, 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 many of the classic building blocks. I have 2 front yards. I'm trying to build a house that conforms with the minimum house size requirements. I've got a wetlands issue, and the pièce de résistance, so to speak, is I've got the building department issued a permit. And you can say they issued an error, and yes, I can't stop the building department. I can't demand that the building department stand by that building permit because the case law of the state of New York says that I can't do that. But it does say that that's a pretty damn good grounds for a variance. And I've demonstrated the economic hardship, which is one of the things that you demonstrate when you're asking for relief. I don't see how this is going to have any problems with light and shadow. I meet the 10-foot minimum setback. The neighbor to the right-hand side, that's west, is house to house, it's 38 feet. House to house is 38 feet. So,
What are the citations to the cases that you cited?
Pearlbinder Holdings versus Sirin Vasani is 27 New York 3rd 1.
Hold on, New York 3rd.
I can send you these, John. Is that easy?
I would like you to send.
I'll just send them.
No,
to
just give me the things right now, and you'll send them to
Or
us as well.
it's 29 New York sub 3rd,
29 New York Sub 3rd.
230.
What case is that?
That case, I just gave you the unofficial and the official site for that, John.
Oh, that was both Pearlbinder?
Yeah, Pearlbinder is 27 NY 3rd 1.
1. Okay, next case.
29 NYS sub 3rd 230.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2016. And it's the Court of Appeals. And La Giro Associates versus Smith, that's
How do you spell that first? Duro?
LA space DIROT, which I assume is Duro. I never took French, but it looks like you dropped the T. I'm not sure. That's 169.
Roger and Colbert.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
169 AD second, 896.
Okay, great. Those are the only two cases?
564 NYS second, 620. And then I don't think there's any need for citing this, but this is a case that you were involved in. It's the River Rock Structured Capital the case, which is the 186 Crescent Avenue Watermill case, which was a case that where this board granted an enormous amount of relief, and I thank the board for that. And 3 separate lawsuits were brought against the board, and I prevailed on all 3, and they were all dismissed because the court properly recognized that there were errors made by the building inspector.
The board always factors in building permits issued in error, always.
Thank you, that's all. But I can get you that site. I don't know if it's made it to the officials, but if you have it, if you go on, the
Okay, why don't
nice
you
sports,
submit that information to
Yeah, I'll
us? That
submit
would be
that to you,
helpful.
yep.
Are there any other questions from the board? Are there people in the audience who wish to be heard on this application?
Yes.
Come up, you can either go to the podium, probably go to the podium. No, I think we do individuals. All right, take your turns. Okay, are you an attorney?
No.
Then I'll have to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Anthony Remy. I live 15 Locust Drive, which is just west of this proposed lot being built.
Your last name?
Remy, R-E-M-Y.
Why? Okay, thank you.
And what was your address again?
15 Locust.
Okay, thank you.
So we're the corner lot across the street.
Across the street, okay. You tell us what your comments are.
you
Just
know,
remember
I'm
that we
listening,
try to,
I'm hearing things.
try to listen to 3 minutes, so just so, okay.
Okay. So all the soil that is there is fill. The street was the level of what that property was. And if you draw a line from the street to the house to the east of that lot, it would be a straight line. So anything above that is fill, okay? I just want to get that straight. Initially, I lived at my residence for 24 years. That was a wood lot, and all of us neighbors knew that it wasn't a buildable lot. I'm not a builder. You mentioned before that, homeowners have to do their due diligence and do their homework and find out if there's something that they're going to run into. Builders know what's going on, okay? So, a 20-foot, you get 50% from 40, okay, you got to build it at 30, right? And here we are, 20. We've been looking at this lot, this foundation for 2 years with the cement wall. Have you walked it and looked at it? Okay. All the sand hills, the orange fencing for 2 years. Okay. So now we've given up and it's just like, okay, we just want a house to be built, and hopefully a nice family moves in, right? And that's now where we're at. But it's hard listening to this. And I gotta say, they put a foundation in, and now they want more. Now they want 2 feet off the foundation. That's kind of frustrating. Is it a big house? No, it's not a big house, but it's a big house for that spot and what us neighbors are actually looking at. It's the house on the hill now, right? We're a little ranch house. We raised our family there. We had 4 kids. It's frustrating to hear about, pyramid laws. It really is. Excuse me for being choked up. I'd like to see a house go up. But you know what? It's a big house. That little house is a big house for where it is. And it's awkward, but the trees are gone, trees are gone. And that's really all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Rennie. Hi, are you an attorney?
I am not.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is John McElroy, 49 Pinecrest Lane.
Can I just put your last name for me?
MC capital ELROY. Okay.
Okay.
You know, I'd prefer to just read, and
Okay,
I'll be
that's fine.
I'll be as quick as I can.
Okay.
At the outset, I'm going to say what HA has said. I am not opposed to a house being on that property. We would welcome it at this point. I mean, we have a lot that is unattractive, and we want something there.
Mm-hmm.
But here are my reservations. Under the new plans and the old, the existing foundation will set the new structure much higher than other properties around and contiguous to it. AJ said as much. And specifically, it's going to impinge on our privacy. It's way up there. I'd request that the property owner consider putting in a row of 12-foot deer-proof arborvitae on the eastern boundary and elsewhere to provide adequate screening. That's one thought. And this is a bigger issue. Water. The new plans call for a bigger house with a bigger, higher roof and an even larger pyramid encroachment. That will affect water on our property and in the streets abutting the applicant's property. Since we're right on the wetland, water is already a concern for us. Just to give you a sense of this, if you dig a hole on my property, particularly in the east side of my property, it fills with water almost immediately. It's crazy. So the applicant's land is now pitched from the top of the foundation toward Pinecrest Lane to the south and Locust Drive to the west. After heavy rain, water accumulates in both streets and in the southwestern corner of my property. So, a few questions and a final point. Why is the property pitched so as to drain water elsewhere? That's a big question. I think it's basic. Has the depth to groundwater on the property been measured, and do the new plans take that measurement into account? Third, will drainage rings on the site capture water fully on the applicant's property and prevent it from entering our property in the streets? We just want some assurance that that's the case. Are the planned leaders and gutters adequate to capture and redirect water away from our property in the streets? And finally, the line of 150-foot offset from wetland boundary was last measured in April of 2019 and was due to be measured 5 years later in April of 2024. Was that measurement made? If not, it should be made. And I believe that the new plan should be evaluated against that measurement. And that's all I got to say. Thank you very
And
much.
You did it in 3 minutes.
Perfect timing. Just for your information, every property owner is required to keep the water on their land.
Yes.
And so I would assume that there's going to be proper drainage. If there isn't, that's an issue for the adjoining property owners to address with the town. And, is that correct, Katie?
Yes, and if you look at
It's
the wetlands
condition
permit,
3
I-
of the wetlands.
yeah,
permit.
I was just looking at the wetlands permit. The wetlands permit has all of that built into it, septic, leaching fields, drainage structures.
Right.
So you're
conservation.
assuring me that I don't have any concerns?
Well, let me say this, that there are requirements. If you have problems, you follow up on those problems.
They are addressed in the permits.
Right.
Oh, great. All right, well,
It looks like you're on private roads, so there's, your private roads always have drainage problems, but the stormwater that will be on this property is supposed to be addressed between the building department and the wetlands permit.
well, if the water issue is not an issue, then the privacy issue is the only one that I...
So what you're suggesting is that you would like to request
Yes.
12-foot arborvitae, deer-proof arborvitae, the western property, which is the western property line, which is the property line that you share with the
right, the eastern property line of the applicant.
eastern property line of the applicant.
That's right.
Done. Put it in as a condition.
All right.
Bing.
All right,
And
that
if-
was
if I-
easy.
If I may, I don't want to interrupt, but
Yeah.
the wetlands permit, leaders and gutters shall be installed directing roof runoff into subsurface dry wells to minimize stormwater runoff. Dry well capacity shall be calculated with the required calculations.
So we dry wells are gonna be put in.
Excuse me, yes,
Dry
well,
wells are-
I have to.
Yeah.
They,
Wetlands
you
permit,
have
yeah.
to, and they have to keep the water on their property.
Not only does the town code require it, but water going
Right.
onto another property is a trespass, actually.
Did you hear that, sir? There's gonna be dry wells put in, there's gonna be no water runoff.
Well, you should look at the wetlands permit just for reassurances.
It's part of the application.
In the application.
You can see the sanitary site plan.
You got it.
So, I did see the sanitary site plan. Will that be affected by the, the new roof line and the new area of the, it will not? Okay.
Yep.
So everything is captured and,
Should be.
okay.
Yes, I know. Okay. Are you an attorney?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Well, wow, that's definitive.
No.
Oh, that's
Well,
it.
you just lost a couple votes.
There's too many up
Do
here.
you
as it
swear
is.
to tell the truth, the whole truth,
Three
and nothing
votes.
but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, please state your name and address.
My name is Yvonne Rayo Remy.
Can I spell that?
Can you spell your last name?
Just the last name?
Yeah, well, both. Well, why? Yeah, go ahead. You can spell it.
YVONNE. The last name is RAO hyphen REMY.
Rayo Remy. Yeah, okay. And you live at the same 49th
15 Locust Drive.
15 Locust Drive. Okay. Okay.
AJ is mine.
Okay.
I just have some concerns. For example, the new plans that we actually got a set in the mail. The new plans were based off of permits that, as far as we know, are all expired. So we're kind of confused. I was confused as to how we can provide variances for permits that no longer are valid.
Well, I'm going to answer that right now.
Great.
The reason you guys were so annoyed that it's been sitting there with nothing done is because Mr. Bennett said a stop work order was issued because the permits were issued in error. So that's why it's been sitting there vacant. I'm sure that applicant is equally frustrated. And as for the permits, the wetlands permit probably has to be reissued. The building permits will be reissued based on whatever this board decides.
Okay.
So they were issued, he in good faith started construction, then they realized they were issued an error, they issued a stop work order, nothing else could happen there. So now they're trying to get everything back in place.
Thank you.
They can't do anything or they'll get violations.
When they first started that construction, so I'm assuming the original permits were based off of the land as it was. I've been living in that house for at least 20 years now. The lands were all even. They cleared that land, they dumped a whole bunch of fill, they put in those foundations with retaining walls on what looks like the property line to us. And all of that looks like it was, what it looks like is that it was done possibly with the permit, but now, hold on, sorry. When the construction was halted, we were staring at this, the people that were constructing it, the person who bought it, had to, I would assume, had to have known how difficult it would be to build something on that property. Because I know nothing about building, I know nothing about the laws, and having been living there, we all know that that property has changed hands more than once, and the same issue had come up. It was difficult to build on it. So the new person buying it, according to your own, what you said earlier, buyer beware, should have known that this was going to be a difficult build. when they are asking to extend this, we're looking at this property and saying, well, yes, anything that's put there has to be a small house. But when you look like you're extending the roof line, and when you look like you're kind of extending out over that foundation, I mean, looking from the street is small. But when you start to extend out from that foundation, it becomes much bigger, at least visually. And when we talk about the characteristic of the neighborhood, there are plenty of things that are closer to the line. There are plenty of two-story houses, but all of those have some sort of landscaping. There's something that's available so that it is not in anybody's view. You're not looking at these monstrosities all over the neighborhood. And what this currently looks like is it looks like it's going to be much bigger than what the property has room for. And that's part of my concern as far as the characteristic. It looks like it's going to be tall because it's already raised up higher. So now we're looking at something that looks like it'll be taller than everything in the neighborhood. Because there's only 2 stories and they're not all right around, and if they are, they're set back.
Okay.
So that pyramid relief that they're asking for looks like it's gonna come really close to a property line, and that's gonna change some of the characteristic. What we have is a little neighborhood that looks like it's all beach bungalows, and what this is starting to look like is now we're just gonna try to cram whatever we can. So the next person can knock down their house and put something bigger because this one did. And that's gonna change the characteristic of the neighborhood. That's my big concern. A little small house, 1 story, or even the cottage kind of thing, that all sounds lovely. We actually, when that foundation first went up, were like Googling what kind of house it could look like because we were excited to see.
I think we need to wrap it up.
Yeah. And that's just the concern that this is gonna be something way too big for the property. And it's gonna change what everybody else can do. So,
Thank you, Yvonne.
thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application?
John, just in response to her
You say
last
no?
comment,
No.
what you're proposing is to use that existing foundation and just bump out just the top part to 20,
Yeah,
right?
no further foundation, just the top 2 feet. It's 2 feet by.
Not all the way down that side.
No. It's 2 feet by whatever it is. 2 feet by the width of the.
So-
2 feet by 27 feet.
So the
just like that.
foundation is like this, and what you're, it's like
Come out
18
2 feet.
inches or whatever it is, and then you just come
Come out,
out
that's
from
all.
that. So the foundation doesn't change. It doesn't go down
Foundation
to the
doesn't
ground.
Right.
It's just to make the house make more sense. This is really important because I've been studying this, the survey, and I was a little bit concerned when I first looked at it. And Kevin, you'll know this from looking at wetlands applications and stuff like that. But these are not proposed contours; these are existing contours. Okay.
I
The house
understand.
but let me talk about it, because this has been something, and it says average pre-existing grade at face of foundation, 19.7. Look at these spot topos, look at them. Some of them are off the property. Right in locus, it's 20.7. On the property line, the easterly property line, western property line, it's 20.1. And then you move over to the other side of the property, it's 19.6 and 19.8. And even off the property line, it's 19.3. So, and if you look, so the pyramid analysis is not after grade. That would also be an inappropriate pyramid analysis. And also, you've got a construction site. The property was excavated. Of course, there's fill all over the place. We'd like to close it up so that everything is taken care of. We'd like to finish the house. We'd like to make it so that the property. But let me finish. So the question is, we're not trying to take any advantage of fill imported on the property. We've taken the pyramid line from the pre-existing grade, and you don't have to trust what's on this right on the survey. Is there some sort of proposed contours? You can see even off the property line, the contours are essentially mirrored. So this is the law is quite clear. We've got to take its average existing, pre-existing grade, not the grade after fill is brought in.
is an honest question.
Sure.
About the top of the foundation being 4 feet. I didn't measure it. I didn't go out with a laser to set it. But from the road and the grade around it,
Right.
it looks 4 or 5 feet above existing grade.
Kevin.
And the question is just, do we have this right? That's all.
Okay.
And let me just finish, John, for once. So if that's a concern and we need to get clarified, we should. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just asking. That's a question. And the concern about is the pyramid relief properly calculated with potential for some confusion about where the house starts against the existing grade and what the survey shows.
And does the height of the
and here's the issue.
Please,
Go
please help me.
Listen, I understand everyone's frustration, also because we have a building permit issued in error, right? So you're kind of like, who do we trust? How do we know what to look at? This was issued in error? I get the skepticism. The point of this is, this has been reviewed by the building department. This has had a stop work order, I think you've said, for 2 years, right? So the site has been sitting there. We have to take this at face value. The architect has admitted that the initial plans did not have the pyramid calculated correctly. So I don't want any more tests. I don't want any more questions about whether or not what's there is legal. Is this?
That wasn't my question.
But I mean, if there's fill on the property, if there's a problem on the property, Marty will go out there. The wetlands permit talks about excavating soils. It talks about bringing things in. I have to believe now that everything is calculated the correct way.
I have a license surveyor showing you what the pre-existing grade is for the property. That's all you need. I have a licensed architect calculating the pyramid law based upon elevation at the property line, 19.6. There it is, 19.6 on this side. The other side, elevation at the property line, 20.2. There it is. I don't understand your line of inquiry.
I think it goes to the fact that I think there's an uncomfortability with the amount of pyramid relief being requested. And I think that has shown up on this board time and time again in this hearing. And I think that you should probably take that seriously.
And John, I do take it seriously, which is why I went back to the architect and said, see if you can do any better and make the pyramid encroachment less than the roof line for which the permit was granted. How could I not be taking it more seriously? I didn't go in and say, I said, we're gonna look at this, I've gotta go in, I've gotta ask for pyramid relief. Let's look at the line of the house that was granted. Can we do any better? And he lowered
And I think we've
ceiling.
identified some places where it can be done better.
I think we've really
Exhaust
beaten this horse to death. So let me just say this. I understand that you've given us some new submissions. We want an opportunity to obviously look at them. You have agreed that you would put in a 12-foot deer-proof arborvitae on the west, on the east property line.
I will put in 12-foot high arborvitae, whether or not they'll be deer-proof.
Well,
I planted stuff that
I think they're pretty much deer-proof. I don't know.
Pretty
Well,
much.
whatever. We also understand that from what the wetlands permit says, that the drainage should be addressed. This is a very unusual application, and is there anybody else who wishes to be heard on this application? Because I'm going to move that we adjourn the hearing and that we leave it open for written comments until July 5th with a decision on July 18th.
For written
Wow.
submissions.
Written submissions. I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. King.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I just want to clarify, did you say decision, you said
Written sub 7, yes.
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 Say again, I'm sorry.
Written sub 7.5.
7.5, if you want to submit those different citations.
Okay, fine.
And with a decision on 7/18.
Thanks a million. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving right along.
You didn't think we would get through this
All right,
without
John.
spirited discussion?
All right, John, enough.
Okay.
We have,
We're
a
done.
lot of
We have a
people.
lot of,
Okay.
we have a lot of other things
Moving
to
on,
discuss.
number 5 on the agenda, Mary Lee, I'm gonna destroy your last name, Cresci, 90 Point Road, Flanders. Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-122-1-52. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed one-family dwelling on a non-conforming lot. Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal front yard setback from 80 feet to 30.5, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Are you an attorney?
No, I am not.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Lisa Poyer, Twin Fork Permits, on behalf of the applicant, 288 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, New York, 11946. So I believe.
Hold on
we'll
one
just-
second, Lisa, let me just have pass these down.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna talk about the memo from Art first.
Okay, hold
Is that-
on.
Just give me
Let
2
us
seconds.
get, let us get organized. The big challenge for us is paper.
Paperless Society.
Oh, no, I don't like that either. Okay. Okay.
So the question, I guess, first and foremost is, I guess, some housekeeping to be done. The application was noticed for only one part of a variance request. There was a second variance request for gross floor area, which Art Gerhauser prepared a memo dated June 6, 2024, which I believe was already in your files, but I submitted an additional. But I just submitted an additional copy on top of this.
Okay, so we just got it tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
So I would be willing to presentation for both, and then we can decide what you want to do with regards to the hearing notice. Or the
Why don't we
second
do
portion.
that?
Okay,
Let's do that.
that's fine. So that was the first item on top.
I
of
mean,
your-
Helen, is that okay with you if, okay.
Okay,
Fine.
that was the first piece of
Okay.
paper on top.
I'm sorry, what are we gonna do?
We're gonna do the presentation for both
To
variance
cover both.
requests, and then see where we need to go with, if we need to renotice it or how to.
No, we should
No.
decide that now.
Okay.
So this is just another one where it's, whether or not this falls under any other relief necessary, like with Kim Judd's where we had the lot area. This actually was an issue that John Bennett was talking about. It came up.
Yes, we just, yeah.
Right, so this
Right.
is basically what it is. They looked at it and Lisa said to the building department, I think I need variance because this house is gonna be too small based on the zoning, what's required in the zone. So the question is to the board, are you okay putting that under any other relief necessary?
Well, Katie, are you okay?
I am.
You are.
It's such a strange, unusual
And
thing.
it's
Anybody who
intuitive.
looks at the plans is gonna know how big this house is or how small
Correct.
this house is. So yes, I am, but I don't
Okay.
want Lisa to
If Katie
waste
is
her time.
okay with it, I'm okay with it. Is there any objection from the rest of the board?
No.
Okay.
There you go.
So then cover both.
Thank you. The second piece that you have is a larger version of the survey, and this was submitted to you because the surveyor added the upland area, which is the area of the lot that is not in the wetland area. And then he has also added the wetland buffer area as well. So that was not in the previous survey, and that
Okay.
does play a role into this application. There's another copy out there for you.
Okay.
The other stuff I'll get to as we continue to talk. So this property was previously, it had a residence on it, which was constructed in about 1940, as per what you can kind of tell with the pre-existing C of O documentation. It was demolished. Then there was a pre-existing C of O, which was actually issued in 2014 for the residence. The house fell in disrepair. It was demolished in 2016. There was a certificate of compliance that was issued for that demolition, and the property is now currently vacant. So there is no C of O. The lot is zoned R60. If you look at the lots immediately to the west, those are actually zoned R15. If our lot was zoned R15, other than the GFA issue, I wouldn't be here before you asking for front yard relief. As you can see from the survey, there's significant extensive wetlands on the property. You have approximately 63% of the property is wetlands. You have an additional 15% proposed in a wetland buffer. So that gives you 78% of the lot that is pretty much unusable. So I met with Marty initially. We went and looked at the area. He and I kind of put together a design. I think he honestly thought this was an R15 zoned house. So we designed a house with a 600 square foot footprint, 2 stories. He's obviously not, part of the zoning staff, building department, so he was unaware of that 1,000 square foot footprint requirement for the first floor for a minimum of 1,200.
A lot of people are. It's an interesting requirement. Because it's based on your zoning. It's not even how big your lot is.
Right. So that's why we came up with 600 square foot footprint, because we saw, okay, 1,200, and then realized later it was R60 zoning, not R40. So that's how we came up with this house size. So when we were doing all this design, we pushed the house as far to the road as possible in order to maximize the wetland preservation area, which is the preserved wetlands, as well as to provide a buffer on the property. As you can see on the survey, there's an outline of the old house cottage that was on here. It is in the wetland buffer area partially, so we have moved the proposed house as far away as possible while still maintaining a 30-foot setback. And as I said before, if we were in a different zone, we wouldn't necessarily need that relief, because under 33083K, we can have all of our principal setbacks with a minimum of 30 feet, so that's why we came up to that front yard setback at 30 feet.
Was it 30 feet or 30.5?
It's 30.5, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, okay, so that's,
The
so it's slightly over what the minimum is.
0.5,
Yeah.
half a foot,
Right.
that'll give
Okay.
you hopefully some a builder.
Yeah, okay.
The application has a wetland permit. That was the last item in the documents that was submitted. We have a variance coming from the New York State DEC. They had requested just some additional language for the pervious driveway, which we provided. They wanted it specified as 40% or greater open space pervious gravel material. Pervious driveway wasn't sufficient for the DEC. So that permit is coming as well. And then we have health department that is pending, waiting on DEC and obviously the town wetland permit, which has been issued. The other document that was provided to you is an inventory of the other residences on this street. You have the R15 zone properties to one side, some across the street, and then R60 one line over here.
Where's the 060?
It's on this side.
Okay.
So the documents, basically they were just submitted, were pulled from the town GIS. It shows pretty much that the proposed house does meet the general character of the neighborhood. If you do the numbers, the average front yard setback is 30.9 feet in the neighborhood, which is the street. The front yard setbacks are 20.5 feet to 57 feet on the road. Most of them, if you look at the table, are 30 and less. The average size of the residences in the neighborhood is 1,230 square feet, and those range from 725 to 1392 in the neighborhood. So if you do a character analysis of the neighborhood, I think the proposed house, its location, size, meets the average of the neighborhood. So go to the balancing test, whether an undesirable character will be produced from the issuance of the variance. We believe that there will not be an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. The provided table shows that the proposed residential front yard setback and the size match the average setbacks for the neighborhood. The proposed use on the property is residential, as is what the character of the neighborhood is. Will the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method feasible? The requested variance, we say, is not achieved by any other method, just because of the wetlands on the property. And it is a smaller lot. It's a 21,000 square foot lot in an R60 zone, so it is a small lot. Whether the request area variance is substantial. The requested variance is non-substantial. Front yard setback is about 25% of the required 40-foot setback for the zone, under 83K with that additional relief. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental conditions. Again, we've maximized all of the setbacks to the wetlands, so we're trying to better the wetland area. We're doing an IA system. That's what also helped push the house back from the street a little bit, is to be able to fit the IA system in the front yard. whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact, did that one. The fifth one is whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. You have extensive wetlands. I don't think anybody wants to put wetlands created on their property.
Standing water.
So there is standing water, there's wetlands. This is not a self-created hardship. So I'll answer any questions you or
Helen, this is your application. Do you have questions?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Helen. Speak up, please.
Visited the property today.
Okay.
And, I think it's gonna be a very, very nice addition to the neighborhood. And it fits in very nicely with the neighborhood, and I have no opposition. So I'm a yes on this one, definitely.
Anybody else from the board wishes?
I thought the presentation was very good.
Thank you.
I agree with Helen. I thought it was a very nice presentation.
Following John.
John should watch.
No.
Anybody
Oh.
else? Oh. Anybody else on the board have any questions?
No, I think this is very modest relief,
Yes.
and I appreciate the fullness of the explanation, and
And nobody has a problem of dealing with the size as part of this? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on the application of 90 Point Road in Flanders? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application? Okay. Helen, this is yours.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We'll keep it open until July 5th with a decision on July 18th.
second.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. King?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Okay,
Lisa.
thank you. Number, where did I go? I just lost it. 11 on the agenda, Fisher Organization LLC, 17 Cypress Avenue, Flanders, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-142-3-10.
Also,
Robert Merrick, University Road, Southampton.
I think we've sworn you gentlemen in.
yes.
I'm an attorney, so, but.
But I
has
think,
been
yes.
sworn in, yes.
But just for the record, please state your names again.
Ray Dickhoff from the Fisher Organization.
This goes away, this goes away.
Okay, okay, so where are we?
So we were trying to fill the board in with some more information concerning how we had investigated what businesses could potentially be successful there or even fit there. So we submitted a letter from both the Fisher Organization as well as from a local real estate broker concerning the property. And again, we asked for relief that we change it from its current zoning BD to residential, which, as we've discussed, would fit into the neighborhood. I did reach out to planning today, and I'm told.
Yeah, it was a little bit my mistake. We had 3 weeks in between meetings, so
Yes.
my calendar was a little long. I have it scheduled for our meeting next week for the planning board to do our referral comments, which we will provide.
Okay, okay.
You want?
And
I'll try
I
to get
was
on at
the
6:20.
one requesting the additional information, and I
Yes.
have to say that I very much appreciate your submissions. It did address, it did check the boxes for me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
No, and thank you very much. Depending upon what comes out of planning, I think that, you've got a fairly favorable view of this, unless I'm misspeaking.
one quick question.
Yeah.
Across the street from the lot in question is like a cream colored, looks like a multifamily unit, or it's kind of like 3 or 4 structures that are sort of curiously configured, not in a traditional sense. What is that use? I'm just trying to find out if the residential use you're imagining is
Meets what that is.
well, just generally consistent with. I mean, I did go around. I checked the area out. I'm just curious what that use was, just to imagine what if any conflicts.
On Cypress, it's residential, but there's also a building that the same color, same build,
Right.
that faces Flanders Road, which is commercial.
Right.
So we're further down the road from that. We're further down Cypress between
Right.
2 residential lots.
Right.
2 residential existing houses.
And again, we would not be coming back to the board. We've already presented, we have our plans, we don't need any further relief. And this board tonight has been a stern board, so I urge all of you to say yes, because there's been a lot of no's.
Stern board.
That's an interesting characterization. Okay,
I
I think,
like that.
I think actually, as I said, depending upon what the planning board comes up with, this doesn't look like it's gonna meet with resistance. So, and thank you very much for providing the information. I think we wanted it on record and you did your job, so, thank you very much. All right, this is John's. Is this yours?
It's Helen's.
Oh, Helen.
We got to wait for their comments or no?
You'll have the planning board's comments after our meeting next week, so.
So we could do written decision, for, what do we have?
We could do
As you've been doing.
July
Okay.
5th, yes,
As you've been doing.
okay.
July
Okay.
5th,
Okay.
right.
Helen, this is yours. Do you wanna take it?
Hearing, voting, and as part of the submission, we have from the planning department and whoever else, we'll have that on July 5th. And again, we'll have a decision on July 18th.
Second.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Mr. Massagoon.
Aye.
Ms. King. Aye. Chair votes aye. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you to the board.
Okay, number 13 on the agenda, Agran Ashlani, 19 Ocean View Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-230-2-33.2.
I was sworn in.
You were sworn in the last meeting, okay.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so where are we?
Okay, so I'm not
Please
sure.
just state your name and
Yes,
address
Richard
again.
Warden, 296 McGee Street, Southampton.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Candace had a chance to distribute, I had emailed her the estimates, and you do have, okay, good. So basically, one estimate is much lower than the other, and I can give you a chance to find those, but,
It's in your written submissions.
okay, good.
Oh, today?
Yep.
Okay, so we haven't had a chance to really look at that.
Oh, okay, well,
I
I
mean,
can
you submitted
just
them, but.
review
Okay.
the
So
story.
why don't you just tell us what they are?
Okay, well, basically, one estimate, which I think is more realistic, is from All Island Handyman and Construction, and he, like me, is of the opinion that the shed seems impossible to carry and move to a new location because there's a pool. I don't know if you have a copy of the site plan there, but there's a very narrow walkway next to the pool, and then you have the water, and to the other side of the walkway is a raised patio. So it seems to me very difficult to be able to move a shed along a 3-foot path, an 8 by 10 shed through a pool. So
what would be the demolition of the shed?
so this particular contractor, he estimated a $7,385 demolition fee for that, and also the container to remove everything. And also the shower, since it's a custom shower, that would be also part of the demolition project.
Would that be included in the $7,385?
Yes, that would be included as
So
part
the
of
shed
that.
and the shower.
Right, to demolish both. So the concept of how much would the total cost be for all of that. So, it comes to a total, if you include the construction of the new shower for this contractor, $23,005, plus an estimated $5,000 for plumbing, which he didn't include, and the estimated new cost of a new shed, which I averaged about $3,250 for the same size. So a total of about $31,000 for just the shed and the shower.
And the shower. So that would cover demolition and construction.
Right.
And location conforming locations?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, but I just wanted to also emphasize, I've been listening to some of the cases tonight, that this is a flag lot with a very narrow driveway that's not visible from the street. So in terms of a balancing test, it doesn't impinge upon the neighbor's views or street. It's not unsightly. It doesn't create a detriment to the neighborhood, I don't believe. And the hardship in terms of moving the shed or the costs of rebuilding and adding new plumbing and digging up the yard again it seems pretty substantial. And Also, I was also listening to another case this evening about pre-existing condition, and I had noticed, it just came to me, I had noticed that the structure where the shower is was on a survey from 1998. I don't know if that has any bearing on the project, but from 1998, it's 24 years ago, it was on a survey.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So the shower arrangement that you have there is, where does the water go when it's running?
There's no drain right now.
That's
for that.
sort of what I'm curious about.
Yeah, it's just for after the beach or whatever, after the pool, just.
Does the water drain onto outside of the property?
That's the question.
No, it's on the higher part of the property, so it drains onto the owner's property. So it's on the raised topography. Yeah, so it's not going onto the neighbor's. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone had a chance to go visit the site, but
Well, it was on a
it's a
flare.
smaller variance. So I mean, we're talking only in terms of the pyramid, only 31 square feet. And some people are presenting 2,000 square feet variances tonight, and this is only 31 square feet.
We got that.
So it's not that
Did
much.
you ever hear from neighbors?
No complaints.
No
whatsoever.
neighbor
I didn't
reaction?
solicit responses, but there were no complaints at all. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as I recall, it's right up against the property line, correct?
It is. It is.
But is there like a paper road back there, or what was the?
It's a paper road.
It's a paper road, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lane N.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you have brought in some information for us to consider. I don't necessarily have a problem with this application.
That's good to hear.
Well, that's me.
Okay.
I don't know about the
At least
rest
that's
of the
one.
board.
I agree too.
John?
Yeah, I'm inclined, given the numbers that you've provided to us, to be amenable to providing you with the relief you're requesting.
The owner will be very happy to hear that.
I agree. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on the application of 19 Ocean View Road in Hampton Bays? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application? Thank you, Peter. Okay, this is yours, John.
Yes, so I move to close the public hearing, set it down for written submissions by July 5th with a decision by July 18th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Ms. Burgess. Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Number 14 on the agenda, Carrie Okunowitz, 170 Little Fresh Pond Road, North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-96-3-44.
Good evening again.
You've all been sworn in.
Yes, Kimberly Judd for the applicant, 737 Roanoke Avenue. Architectural and lettering is my client, Kerry O'Conowitz. The last time we were here, when we started this application, Keith Tuttle was on the board and Mike Daly was on the board. At the last meeting, they were both off, and now we have two board members, so it was nicely adjourned, so the two board members could hopefully look at the testimony, watch the testimony from the earlier meetings, and to figure out what was going on here. So I'm just gonna encapsulate real tight, because I know I don't wanna beat a dead horse either. And
So you know, I did review past here.
thank you.
I did as well.
Yes, thank you very much. So we've done a lot of revisions to this, and again, this is another lot with a couple front yards, 3 front yards functionally. Little Fresh Pond Road, Lakeview Court, and Lakeview Court coming around the corner. So I think it's important just to know, I was going over the pyramid at the last meeting. Mr. Leonard said, there is pre-existing pyramid violation on the house right now. Should I give that information to you? And he did. He submitted a pyramid plan that should be part of your, in your package, that show that there is pre-existing pyramid encroachment on the house that's there now of 242 cubic feet. So when you take that into account with the total pyramid, the relief, do you all have the small? And there's a small pyramid. He did two full size and like a couple 11 by 17s. Okay. The total pyramid that we're asking for is 2,430 cubic feet. So that is equal on both sides, because remember, we had to center the house on the lot, it was not straight. So it turns out to be 1,333 on one side and 1,333 on the other side. I also just would like to see that the things that we eliminated over the course of the hearings, you'll recall that we had this front porch that ran along the entire width of the house that was covered, so it counted into lot coverage calculations, and we took that off, and the porch is much smaller, and it's still not as far out as the existing deck. So we eliminated the porch that was on the north side of the house and just continuing the setback. So we're not coming any closer. The only house that's next to us is this house right over here, and they're closer to the property line than we are. So right now we're 10 feet away. They're her existing house. And by centering it, we became about 12 feet away. We're not going any closer to Lakeview Court, and we are proposing a footprint in the back. That's why I shaded it green, 121 square feet, which I would submit is very modest. We're putting a new IA septic system, and the package that I submitted to you show that there's variances in this neighborhood, including the property right next door. If you've been there, there's small lots. The houses are all close to the property line. But I would submit with this, we are going a couple feet further away from this neighboring property owner over here to the south. We would say that the setback relief we're requesting is consistent with the other variances that have been granted in the neighborhood. And importantly, the pyramid work that Sean did, he dropped the ridge of the house by 3 feet. So the height of the house is only 21.5 feet. And just to put that into perspective, you can have an accessory structure with a 20-foot garage. So this is only going to be 1.5 feet taller than an accessory structure. And it's 32 feet, which is permitted by the code. So I would submit a 21.5 foot high house. He made the second floor wall 7 feet in the front. And I think we were just going over the strict application of R20 setbacks. So with 3 front yards, it would be anything that she did on this property is going to need a variance. It would be 40 feet here. If this was a vacant lot, she would need 40 feet here, 40 feet here, 40 feet here. The only variance, again, I discussed with the board that was not included, which I think has to be included, but the building inspector didn't feel it, but I think it is the setback here, because the house right here, we're adding footprint, so it is getting closer to Lakeview, which is a front yard variance, right? Because
Is that the
it's a front yard.
25.3?
I'm sorry?
The setback, 25.3?
Oh wait, am I looking at the right plan? 25.5. Oh, 25.3, yes, you're correct, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
You're correct.
Okay.
So that's the one I would submit. And again, I think this is a very modest house. I think once the renovation is done, I think it'll be a beautiful addition to this neighborhood. And I think Sean did a great job in trying to minimize any impact on the southern property owner by moving the house away.
So this is my application, so I had a couple of things. You did bring down pyramid relief, which we appreciate very much.
I haven't seen these new plans, so what is the new pyramid relief amount?
Didn't you submit this?
Yes.
Yeah.
When did you submit it?
Looks like May 24.
Yeah, it's been submitted to us.
So was it in our package?
Yeah.
Last.
Everybody had it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, a couple of things that I really want to make sure that we're on board about. One is to strictly maintain the dimensions of the garage, height and roof line. Because,
Yes.
So I'd like that written into any decision that we make.
Okay.
I think that we need to have some kind of vegetation on the side yard by the
Yes, you did
garage.
say that, yep.
And also that the fence around the shower, which is really like an enclosure, should only be at a maximum of 6 feet.
Correct.
Okay, so those are my concerns. And I don't know, anybody
What is
else?
the pyramid relief now?
2,430 cubic feet.
On a house that's on 3 front yards. Difficult. It's a difficult you know, it's a challenging piece of property.
It's been reduced.
It's been reduced, yes, thank you very much. I know, a couple of times.
Can I make
Sure, go ahead.
comments and questions? So, one of the attributes of this neighborhood is that it's a tall tree canopy. That they're old, not old growth forests, but they're not just new sticks that were planted 5 years ago. And it's potentially possible that some of the height concerns could be mitigated by mature trees around the visual entrance into that neighborhood, particularly from the corner, right? So, I think a landscape plan for what the future will look like at the conclusion of what you're contemplating would be helpful to give some assurance that it won't be this larger structure with more mass and then people going, who did that, right? So you could say, I will just leave all the trees there, we promise, and sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't. So,
Well, we can't, just for your
Yeah.
comfort level, this part is treed, so we're not
That's not theirs.
proposing, that's
I
not our
get that.
property,
Yeah.
we're not gonna
Okay.
disturb that. We're gonna just, plantings on the southern, along the southern
No, it's
prop-
by the lake.
Oh, the Lakeview Court,
Yes, the
okay, I'm
Lakeview
sorry,
Court
Lakeview
part,
Court,
because that
okay.
has very
so-
limited shrubbery on that, so.
so I would feel better,
24
and I would have a better understanding that any of the visual concerns would be mitigated by, some landscaping proposal for what is being imagined there at the conclusion of whatever gets approved, if anything. So,
They're across the street from this house. So here's Fresh Pond. There's a house right here. There's a cape. It sits there, higher up on the hill.
Yep.
Than this house, than this property. And that cape, I'm sure if I went and measured it, probably has a roof height, a ridge height that's going to be higher than the 21'10" that we've got out of this. So that doesn't even feel roomy when you drive in. When you look at that cape, so you don't look, oh, look how big that
Right.
sits there. So I don't see how this.
well,
It's going to be new.
It's an orientation, right? You're driving down the street, you can hang a left or go straight.
Right.
And there's this house right in the corner. The house on the right that you're referring to,
Right.
you would have to go like that, right? So it's just if you're intending to do a landscape plan, maybe you'd like to see it. That's all.
I'll refer to.
I was not about
What's
to.
the date of the latest elevations? If you wouldn't mind.
You were gonna say something. Okay.
The last date I have here is 5/23, 24.
523, okay.
So what is the screening condition that we're talking about?
I believe that
It's Lakeview Court's
It's
the
on the
backside
lake-
of the
along
house.
the
That's
Lakeview
what the
Court
It's on the
side.
side where the garage is and, you know,
Yes, along
and
the
it's
property line with
very
right near the
small
hedges.
little,
It's right now where there's a hedge. There's
not
a
much
hedge.
of a hedge, no.
It's not, no, it's not thick.
No, I know.
There is the largest tree is not on my property, it overhangs.
Right.
There are
Yeah.
two small bushes,
Yes.
small shrubbery out front.
Right.
The
So-
rest is on what's known as a park,
I understand.
which is not, so
But
yeah, I have no problem.
Because of the fact that it's so close to the property line, I feel that you need to come up with some kind of a vegetation plan, an evergreen vegetation plan on
Native-
that
native
line.
plants that look like they belong there, sort of.
Again, this is over by the garage. What variances are you asking for the garage?
The garage doesn't need any, but the shower, the enclosure
The-
does.
Oh,
the
that's
fence.
right, the enclosure of it.
That
All right.
fence, yeah.
So you
Quote
want
fence.
some
6
sort
feet
of
max.
vegetative buffer
Yeah, right,
along,
along
The
that
property
property
line.
line.
you know, starting by where the shower is.
And then you
Yeah.
can, do you wanna delineate what kind of vegetation? I think you said something.
Native,
Ask Marty.
Okay.
Marty will give you a native vegetative.
Well, we have standard language that we use, don't we, for
Yeah,
vegetative?
we would just say, you know, screening.
Yeah, vegetative screening,
Mhm.
that, that has to be maintained in perpetuity, so, particularly about the shower. That's my concern. Okay, anybody else on the board has any comments? Anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Okay. Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application? All right,
Can I just make one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this is just something that Sean and I, he noticed it when we were sitting back there. The lady, he did his pyramid plan based upon the house being perfectly centered on the lot. And he just noticed on the survey, he said that the setbacks are supposed to be 11.58 on each side, and they're not. So we'd like to just leave the written I know you leave it open anyway, so we can have the survey revised to show. And what it's gonna do is squeeze the house in, because
So
it's
wait.
gotta be 11.5 each
when-
side.
When I
There's
read,
the one on the south side is 11.5, but the one on the north is not, is that what you're saying?
correct.
Right.
Okay, so
They-
this is
they-
the one,
They both should be 11.5.
okay, so you need to, so that can be done as a written submission,
Yes.
okay.
And his pyramid was based upon it being 11.5.
Centering it on the
Yes.
property, because both property lines are parallel to each other,
Right.
other than, the front,
Right.
what we call front back.
Okay,
But
so you
the other
get
two are
that.
parallel, so I centered the house to try and
So
get
it's where
the,
11.5 is
so-
pre-existing?
no, 11.5 is right now it's 11.2.
Yeah.
So I shrunk the house, I made that,
Right, but no, but we advertised it as 11.2 feet is pre-existing, and you're telling me it's 11.5?
no, it's 11.2.
Mhm.
When I did I recentered the house so that I can get the pyramid down, it's 11.5 and 11.5.
Okay.
As opposed to, so we're increasing the setback from what was existing. To 11.2, we're gonna go to 11.5. And all in an effort to bring the pyramid down.
Okay.
You,
All right,
that
and
is-
then-
that
But this, I just looking, I mean, I
Are
don't.
you thinking of notices?
No, I don't care about the notice, I just, when I write it up, I just wanna make sure that, does that affect any of the requests for relief?
No.
No.
So when we refer to 11.2, that still exists, 11.6 still exists?
What Kim is just trying to point out is that when I put the house in the center and I gave it to the surveyors, I never saw this. This went
Yeah.
right straight to Kim and then right to you. I've never saw it. I was sitting and I go, Kim, these numbers are supposed to be the same numbers. It's supposed to be 11.5 and 11.5, and they're not. And she goes, oh. So she was just trying to say that we want to submit the proper
Okay.
survey that has it equal,
And the-
because this
and-
doesn't represent that.
Okay.
And that proper survey will reflect what your pyramid relief is requesting.
Correct. That's right.
And it won't get worse than what we think.
No.
That's right.
It'll be the
That's
same.
right.
Okay.
It will be the same.
Yeah.
Okay, this is mine, so I am going to close the public hearing and leave it open for written submissions until July 5th, with a decision July 18th.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. King.
Hi.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
I am chair votes aye. Okay, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much, and thank you for all your work on
Thank
this.
you.
It's still light outside, you might be able to see some light when you go out.
We still have things to do. Okay.
Have a good evening, thank you.
That's it.
Decision time.
What are you guys here for? Find it?
One, two,
That's just for the decisions.
three, we got four.
Okay. All right, we're done with the agenda
Yes.
hearings, and we are up to decisions.
Why don't you read?
I'll read
That one
I'll read
first.
Pine Neck first, since I
Yes.
think you're here for Pine Neck.
No.
No.
No, this is a decision. A decision, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna read this. Pine Neck Realty LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-5-5-67. This application is for property located at 2 Oak Road, Noyak. Applicant requests variances to construct a new dwelling on a lot burdened by 2 front yards with a new IA system proposed. After revising the plan several times to reduce the amount of variances requested, and in an effort to address concerns from the board and the neighbors, this board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a new dwelling. 1. Town Code Section 330-6, as it relates to Town Code Section 330-11, Resident Districts Tables of Dimensional Regulations, for a principal front yard setback from the southern property line, Briar Lane, of 27 feet 11 inches, where 30 feet is required, a principal front yard setback from the westerly property line, Oak Road, of 21 feet 11 inches where 30 feet is required, and a principal rear yard setback of 11 feet 10 inches where 30 feet is required, and a total lot coverage of 24.8% where a maximum of 20% is permitted. And 2, Town Code Section 330-84D for a pyramid encroachment in the amount of 316.682 cubic feet. These variances are shown on the site plan and pyramid elevations prepared by James F. Thornton II, last dated April 8, 2024. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval on the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
I'm abstaining.
Miss Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, Mike.
There's no comments, raise your hand, there's no comments.
You forgot one major thing, that
Okay.
height doesn't mean the height.
Sir, it's over.
Okay, John, you have a decision?
Yes, I have the decision in the application of Megan Nikonovitz. This application of Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-293-2-6. This application is for property located at 5 Lincoln Avenue, Hampton Bays. Applicant requests variances for a proposed single-family dwelling and detached. I'm sorry, excuse me, could you please stop talking while we're trying to conduct business? Okay, thank you. This application is for property located at 5 Lincoln Avenue, Hampton Bays. Applicant requests variances for a proposed single-family dwelling and detached garage on a non-conforming lot burdened by wetlands and located in an AE10 flood zone. This application secured approvals from both the DEC and Conservation Board and proposes the bulk of the pyramid encroachment abutting property owned by family and adjacent to the open space in that yard. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1. For a proposed one-family dwelling, Sub 1, Town Code Section 330-83K yards, that references Town Code Section 330-11 Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal minimum side yard setback of 9.7 feet where 10 feet is required, and Sub 2, Town Code Section 330-84D Pyramid Law, for a total encroachment in the amount of 4,578 cubic feet, 1,012 cubic feet on the north and 3,566 cubic feet on the south, and 2, for a proposed detached garage, section 330-84D, for an encroachment in the amount of 1,212 cubic feet for a south encroachment as shown on the survey prepared by Donald J. Metzger, L.S., last revised on March 8, 2023, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by David H. Sherwood, dated February 24, 2023. The granting of this relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Abstain.
Mr. MacDonald.
Abstain.
Miss Burgess. Chair votes aye. Okay, we have Mike. Who's Mike? Candy. Who's Mike?
Mike was asleep, so we're just,
Oh,
I need you to read it.
oh,
Michael.
I always think of it as Michael. And I was thinking
Michael.
who's Mike. Okay.
Michael was asleep.
Okay, who wants to read this? All right, you go. You can
Are
read
you
that.
waiting for a decision?
No, I wanted to run this whole thing past you because I really don't know what else. I've tried emailing and sending stuff.
Have you talked to
Okay. Okay, let's read our decisions and then we can address this after the meeting is over. Okay.
I can speak. We're going
All right. Yeah.
Okay, this is
All right,
application.
Katie is going to talk to you. Okay.
This is the decision on Carmen Waldem, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-290-2-23.2. This application is for property located at 16 Ocean Avenue, East Quogue. Applicant requests variances to convert the basement of an existing house into accessory apartment. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed accessory apartment on a non-conforming lot. Town Code Section 330-11.2F, accessory apartment special standards. 1, for a lot area of 13,000 square feet where a minimum of 30,000 square feet is required. 2, for a lot area of 13,000 square feet where a minimum of 16,000 square feet is required, 80% of the required 20,000 square feet. And 3, a principal rear yard setback of 31.3 feet where a minimum of 42 feet is required, 70% of the required 60 feet setback. And 2, Town Code Section 330-11.2G, minimum and maximum sizes to allow a total floor area of the accessory apartment to be 37.03% of the total floor area of the principal dwelling where a maximum of 35% is permitted. These variances are granted as shown on the plans and elevations prepared by Gustavo Munez, registered architect, dated October 1st, 2023, and the survey prepared by PMJ Land Surveying PLLC, last revised April 16th, 2024. This decision is conditioned upon the removal of a frame shed prior to the issuance of any certificates for accessory apartment, and also subject to any other conditions and permits as applicant may have already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including but not limiting to accessory apartment application form.
Second.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, I have one last one. It's Helen's, but I'll read it for her. Harbor Baby LLC, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-16-2-9. This application is for property located at 71 Ridge Road, Sag Harbor. Applicant requests a determination that the premises is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels. Based on the evidence and testimony in the record, this board finds that the subject premises, that is Suffolk County Tax Map 900-16-2-9, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to the relief pursuant to Town Code Section 330-115D, as shown on the survey prepared by Jeffrey W.A. Hatterer, dated October 19, 2023. Grant of the foregoing is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of subject premises, including the separation of the common ownership of the lots within 6 months of this decision.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
What about?
Motion
What
adjourned.
about 40
Second.
Ocean View Drive? Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Well, it was originally scheduled for 6:20.
Yeah, it was a problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They were on 6:20.
Yeah.
You have a motion, second,
Right. All in
Who
favor?
motioned?
I motioned.
Bob.
and you seconded or did?
Okay, Mr. McDonald
I'll
second.
second.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Macedonia? Mr. Macedonia?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane? Aye. Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye.